Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where you send us sources and we dig in to pull out the key stuff, the insights that help you get up to speed fast without, all the groundwork.
Exactly. Shortcut the learning curve.
Right. And today, our mission comes from a YouTube video you shared with us. It's called 40 Must-Know Advanced Adjectives in 30 Minutes. Unlock Fluent English Instantly. It's by Learn English with Harry. So the goal here is really for you listening in to maybe pick up some ways to make your English a bit more precise, more colorful, moving past the everyday words.
Yeah, it's about adding nuance, isn't it? What's really interesting, I think, is how just swapping out one word can kind of change the whole feel of what you're saying.
Totally.
And this video does a nice job, pairs common adjectives with, let's say, more advanced alternatives. So we'll basically follow that structure, look at the simple word, then unpack the richer options and, how to use them.
Okay, sounds like a plan. Let's dive in. First up, good. I mean, we use this one for everything, right? Good coffee, good book, good day.
All the time. It's a default. But the video pushes for more, suggesting excellent and superb.
Okay, excellent. How does that level things up from just good?
Well, excellent really points to a high standard, like almost flawless quality. The example used is the concert was excellent with the musicians delivering a flawless performance. See how flawless reinforces that idea.
Right, yeah. It's much stronger than just the concert was good. You get a real sense of quality. Okay, and superb. What's the feel of that one?
Superb also means exceptional quality, but maybe with a bit more grandeur, impressiveness. Think of the chef example. The chef's cooking was superb, with each dish perfectly seasoned and beautifully presented.
Ah, okay. So it's not just good, it's impressive, almost artistic.
Kind of, yeah. It's got that element of being really outstanding, maybe even a little awe-inspiring, a step beyond just technically perfect.
That makes sense. Excellent for faultless quality, superb for that extra impressive flair. Got it. All right, let's flip it. What about bad? The video offers terrible and atrocious.
Okay, so terrible, pretty standard step up from bad. It clearly signals something really unpleasant, significantly below par, like the food at the restaurant was terrible and the service was even worse. Straightforwardly negative.
Yeah, leaves no doubt. Now, atrocious. That one sounds pretty intense.
It is. It takes terrible up several notches. The video defines it as like shockingly bad, maybe even cruel. It's not just poor quality, it's deeply wrong.
Wow, okay.
The example they use really hits it home. The conditions in the prison were atrocious, with inmates living in inhumane conditions. That phrase, inhumane conditions, really tells you the level of horror atrocious implies.
That's a powerful example.
Yeah. And just a quick note for everyone listening on pronunciation, it's T-R-O-H-shus. Stress on that second syllable.
Two-or-acious. Got it. So terrible for really bad, atrocious for shockingly, horrifyingly bad. Okay. Let's shift to feelings, starting with happy, alternatives, joyful, and ecstatic.
Right. Joyful suggests a really deep happiness, a sense of delight. It feels bright, radiant even. Think about the children were joyful as they opened their Christmas presents. Pure, simple happiness.
Yeah, you can almost picture their faces. It's a lovely image. And ecstatic, that sounds like happy maxed out.
Exactly. It's that overwhelming, almost uncontrollable level of joy. Pure thrill. The video's example. Winning the championship for the team left them feeling ecstatic with joy. You feel that explosion of happiness.
Right. Pure celebration. So joyful for deep delight, ecstatic for extreme, over-the-moon happiness. Cool. Now the other side.
The
video gives us melancholy and sorrowful. These sound heavier.
They definitely carry more weight. Melancholy. It's a complex sadness, isn't it? It's got that mix of sadness, but also like pensive thought, a gentle, lingering kind of blue feeling.
Reflective.
Yeah. The example was the melancholy song brought back memories of a lost love and left her feeling blue. It captures that wistful quality. Oh, and it's pronounced melancholy.
Melancholy. Okay. That pensive thoughtfulness is a good description. It's not just down, it's thoughtful down. And sorrowful. How's that different?
Sorrowful feels more direct, maybe more acute. It's sadness or distress, often linked to a specific loss or event, like she looked at the old family photos with a sorrowful expression, missing the days when they were all together. You feel that specific pain of loss.
Okay. So melancholy is more reflective, maybe a mood, while sorrowful is more like direct grief or distress about something specific.
That's a good way to put it.
Helpful distinction. All right, let's switch gears to size, starting basic. Big. Alternatives given are enormous and colossal.
Enormous is pretty straightforward, just means extremely large, huge. Like the example, the elephant was enormous, towering over the other animals in the zoo. Clear picture of immense size.
Definitely paints a picture.
Yeah.
And colossal, that sounds even bigger almost. Epic.
It does have that vibe. Colossal also means extremely large, massive, but often implies something so big it's awe-inspiring, maybe monumental. The colossal statue was a testament to the skill of the sculptor. Size linked to significance. And pronunciation. Ku-las-ul.
Ku-las-ul. Okay. Enormous for just really big. Colossal for monumentally, impressively massive.
Yeah.
By opposite time. Small. We get tiny or teeny. And minuscule.
Tiny, and its cuter cousin teeny just means very small, easy. The tiny kitten could fit in the palm of my hand. Sweet, clear, visual.
Yeah, very clear. And minuscule sounds incredibly small.
It is extremely small. Often implies something so small it's hard to see or deal with. Like the minuscule font on the label made it impossible to read. It's about that extreme end of smallness.
Those impossible to read ingredients lists. Okay. Tiny for very small. Minuscule for extremely, almost invisibly small. Good. Let's talk speed, starting with fast. Alternatives, rapid and swift.
Rapid usually describes speed that's quick and continuous, a fast pace. Think of the train moved at a rapid speed rushing through the countryside. Constant, quick motion.
Yeah, you get that sense of ongoing speed. And swift. What's the nuance there?
Swift also means fast, but often carries a sense of promptness or immediacy, maybe even gracefulness in the speed. The example was, the swift actions of the paramedics saved his life. It highlights the quick, decisive response.
Okay, so rapid is more about the pace itself. Swift can be more of the quality or timeliness of the fast action.
Exactly. Subtle, but useful.
Definitely. Okay, opposite of fast, slow. Alternatives, sluggish and lethargic.
Sluggish. This implies a lack of energy, a slow response. It could be physical, mental, even mechanical. The example of the students after lunch is perfect. The students were sluggish after lunch, struggling to stay awake. That post-lunch slump feeling.
Know it well. And lethargic sounds even more extreme.
It generally is. Lethargic suggests a real lack of energy, profound tiredness, almost an unwillingness or inability to exert oneself. Like, the heat made her feel lethargic and she couldn't focus on her work. It's a deeper state of exhaustion.
Okay. Sluggish is slow, low energy. Lethargic is more like deep weariness.
Got it.
Let's move to temperature. Starting with hot, we get scorching and sweltering.
Right. Scorching, you can also say scorching hot, describes that really intense burning heat, often dry heat. Think, the scorching sun beat down on the desert, making it unbearable to walk. You feel the intensity.
Yeah, it makes me feel thirsty just hearing it. And sweltering.
Sweltering brings in the humidity. It's that oppressive, uncomfortable, sticky heat. The kind that makes it hard to breathe, hard to sleep. Like the example, the sweltering heat of the summer made it difficult to sleep at night. It's about the uncomfortable quality of the heat.
Ugh, yeah, very different feelings. Scorching for intense dry heat, sweltering for that heavy humid heat. Makes sense. Okay, the opposite, cold. Sometimes we say icy cold. Alternatives here are frigid and icy.
Frigid. This means extremely cold, bitter cold. Like the frigid weather forced the people to stay indoors and bundle up. It's that deep, penetrating cold that chills you to the bone.
Brr. Yeah. And icy. How's that distinct from just very cold, like frigid?
Well, icy specifically points to the presence of ice, something covered in ice or frost. So while it implies cold, the focus is the ice itself. The car skidded on the icy road. The danger is the ice.
Right. So frigid is about the air temperature feeling extremely cold. Icy is about surfaces being covered in ice.
Exactly.
Okay, nearly there. Let's do appearance. Starting with beautiful. Alternatives are exquisite and stunning.
Exquisite. This suggests a kind of delicate, intricate, highly refined beauty, often used for craftsmanship or something with fine detail. Like the artist's work was exquisite with intricate details and stunning colors. It's beauty in the detail.
Right. Suggests real skill and refinement. And stunning.
Stunning is more about immediate impact. Strikingly beautiful, impressive, something that really catches your eye, maybe takes your breath away for a second. The sunset over the ocean was stunning. That kind of wow factor.
Okay. Exquisite for delicate, detailed beauty. Stunning for immediate, impactful beauty. Lovely. Now the opposite. Ugly. Alternatives. Unappealing and unsightly.
Unappealing is maybe the milder one. It just means lacking attraction or charm. Not necessarily hideous, just doesn't draw you in. Like the dull, unappealing color of the dress. It just lacks positive visual qualities.
Kind of bland or off-putting. And unsightly. Sounds stronger.
It is. Unsightly means actively unpleasant to look at. Maybe messy, jarring, offensive to the eye. The graffiti example works well. The graffiti on the wall was unsightly and ruined the appearance. It's about a negative visual impact.
Got it. Unappealing is lacking charm. Unsightly is actively unpleasant to see. Okay, what about easy? Alternatives. Effortless and untroublesome.
Effortless. This implies something is done with ease, often making something difficult look easy. It suggests skill or natural talent. She made the difficult task look effortless, like a great athlete or musician.
Right, like they aren't even trying. And untroublesome.
Untroublesome focuses more on the lack of problems or difficulty. Easy to manage, doesn't cause hassle. Like the software example. The new software was untroublesome and didn't require any technical knowledge. It just works smoothly.
Okay. Effortless is about the appearance of ease. Untroublesome is about the lack of problems. Good distinction. Now the opposite. Difficult, alternatives, arduous, and challenging.
Arduous. This implies great effort, often physically demanding or tiring, maybe lengthy. Think climbing to the top of the mountain was an arduous task. It emphasizes the hard work involved. And pronunciation. Arduous. Sounds like hard work. And challenging. Challenging focuses more on testing your skills or abilities. It requires effort, yes, but often in a way that can be stimulating or rewarding. Like the math problem on the test was challenging, but the students were determined. It's a test you rise to.
So arduous emphasizes the sheer effort and strain, while challenging emphasizes the test of skill or intellect.
That's a great way to summarize it.
Okay, a few more pairs. Let's do age. Starting with old. Alternatives. Ancient and antiquated.
Ancient. This refers to the very distant past. Civilizations, history, things that have been around for ages. The ancient civilization of the Mayans evokes a sense of deep time.
Right, historical context.
And antiquated. Antiquated means old in the sense of being outdated, old-fashioned, maybe no longer useful or efficient, like the machinery example. The antiquated machinery was no longer efficient. It's about being out of step with modern times.
Okay. Ancient is historically old. Antiquated is out of date old. Makes sense. Opposite. New. Alternative.
Yeah.
Novel and innovative.
Novel. This means new in the sense of being original, fresh, maybe something not seen or done before. Her novel approach to problem solving, it highlights the originality.
Like a new idea. And innovative. How's that different?
Innovative implies introducing new methods or ideas that often lead to improvement or positive change. It's about creativity and progress. The company is known for its innovative products that have revolutionized the industry. Newness, that makes a difference.
So novel is just new, original. Innovative is new and improves things or changes things.
Precisely.
All right. Cleanliness. Started with clean. Alternatives. Pristine and immaculate.
Pristine. This suggests perfect, untouched condition, unspoiled, maybe in its original clean state, like the beach was pristine, pure, natural cleanliness.
Like nobody's ever been there. And immaculate.
Immaculate is about absolute perfect cleanliness. Spotless, flawless, no marks, often implies careful cleaning. The house is pristine and in immaculate condition. It's about being perfectly clean, zero flaws.
Okay. Pristine is untouched, clean. Immaculate is perfectly, flawlessly clean. Got it. Opposite. Dirty. Alternatives. Filthy and grimy.
Filthy, very strong word, extremely dirty, maybe disgusting or unsanitary. The kitchen was filthy after the party, just really, really dirty. You often hear filthy dirty too.
Right, emphasizes it. And grimy, what kind of dirty is that?
Grimy suggests ingrained dirt, often greasy or sooty, dirt that's worked its way into a surface. After working in the garage all day, his clothes were grimy, that specific kind of ground and dirt.
Okay. Filthy for extremely dirty, grimy for that ingrained, often greasy dirt. Good. Last category, light, starting with bright. Alternatives, radiant and gleaming.
Radiant. This describes something giving off bright light, glowing. Often feels warm, positive.
Very.
The sun was radiant as it rose. It's about the light source itself shining strongly.
A beautiful image. And gleaming.
Gleaming is about reflected light, shining brightly because light is bouncing off a smooth, polished surface. Like, I want that car gleaming bright. It's about the shine on the surface.
Okay. Radiant is emitting light. Gleaming is reflecting light. Clear. And finally, the opposite. Dark. Alternatives. Dim and somber. Remember that pronunciation? Somber.
All right, somber. Okay, dim. This is simply a lack of light, making it hard to see. Gloomy. Not enough light. The peeling wallpaper gave the house a dim and gloomy appearance. just not bright enough.
It's a bit depressing. And somber.
Somber relates to dark or dull color or appearance, but it often carries an emotional weight, seriousness, gloom, sadness. The somber sky indicated that a storm was coming. The darkness suggests the mood or what's coming.
So dim is just low light. Somber is dark with a feeling of seriousness or gloom attached.
Yeah, exactly. It's more about the mood the darkness creates.
Wow, okay. We covered a lot there. It really is amazing how choosing a more specific adjective can completely change the picture you paint.
Absolutely.
And for you listening, the idea isn't just memorizing lists, right? It's about noticing these words, trying them out, getting a feel for that extra layer of meaning they add.
Exactly. Pay attention when you read or listen. And try slipping one of these into your own conversation or writing. It might feel a bit strange at first, but that's how they become part of your active vocabulary. You start painting with more colors.
That's a great way to put it. Which brings us to our final thought for you to maybe mull over. How does actually using these more nuanced words change how you see things?
Interesting question.
Yeah, I mean, does finding a word like melancholy instead of just sad actually help you understand or even experience that feeling differently? Does describing a sunset as stunning instead of beautiful make you appreciate it more?
It's that feedback loop, isn't it? Language shaping perception, perception demanding better language.
Exactly. Something to think about, how the words you choose don't just describe your world, but maybe, just maybe, help create it too. Welcome to the Deep Dive. This is where we take interesting sources and, well, we pull out the key stuff for you, the learner.
That's right. You want to get informed, get the depth, but, without getting totally overwhelmed.
Exactly. And that's what we do here.
So today we're diving into language, specifically how we talk about people's personalities.
Yeah, our source is this really great YouTube lesson. It's from B2-C English called Advanced Personality Adjectives in English.
It's all about moving beyond just good or bad.
Right. This deep dive into the transcript, it's going to give you a much richer toolkit, better words to describe people accurately.
You might have those moments where you think, that's the word I needed.
Okay, let's get into it. Maybe start with the negative side. Go beyond just not nice or bad.
Sounds good. So the lesson kicks off with angry, but gives us some stronger alternatives right away. First up, belligerent.
Belligerent, okay.
Yeah, and what's interesting is it's not just feeling angry, it's more like being eager to fight, to yell, shout, that kind of thing. The example they use is Liverpool fans after a loss, sort of ready for a confrontation.
Gotcha. So is that active, almost looking for a fight vibe?
Exactly. Then there's aggressive. The lesson calls this a bad and angry manner. Someone who shouts if you criticize them.
Oh, yeah. That example of shouting when getting feedback. I think we've all seen that, unfortunately. So what's the main difference then between belligerent and aggressive? Is there one?
That's a good point. They're close, but belligerent feels more like taking the offense, maybe looking for trouble. Aggressive seems more like a defensive reaction, like a hostile response when challenged.
Okay, that helps clarify it. Defensive versus offensive anger.
Sort of, yeah. And then there's hostile. This one feels a bit broader than just anger, right? Like a general unfriendliness.
Yeah, and the lesson said it could apply to lots of things. A person, sure, but a place, a situation.
Even a whole country, yeah. That example of the teacher with the unfriendly manner, it really conveys that sort of pervasive negativity, doesn't it?
It really does. Okay, so from anger, let's shift to another common trait. Selfishness.
Right. The lesson uses selfish as the base and then brings in self-centered.
Self-centered.
The idea here is someone who really genuinely thinks they're the center of the universe. Everything's about their own needs.
Like they almost don't see other people's needs.
Pretty much. The example given was some rich people in the speaker's country just focused on themselves.
Okay, and then we also got egoistic or egotistic. How's that different from self-centered?
Well, if self-centered is being the focus, egoistic or egotistic adds this layer of thinking you're actually better than everyone else.
The superiority complex.
Exactly, that feeling of entitlement. Like the example, John wanting the best room, the most food on holiday, just because he thinks he deserves it more.
Yeah, that I'm better so I get more thing. Definitely a specific flavor of inconsiderate. Okay, next one. Stingy. We all know someone like that, probably.
Maybe. So the lesson starts with just, not wanting to spend money. Then it gives us tight-fisted.
Tight-fisted. I like that image.
It's vivid, isn't it? Like physically holding on to the money. The example was John not buying his girlfriend a birthday gift. Pretty clear sign.
Ouch. Yeah, that's That's beyond frugal. Then there's a more formal word, parsimonious.
Parsimonious. Right. This one takes it even further. It suggests someone who's like unwilling to spend anything, even if they have loads of money. They don't even seem to enjoy the money they have.
So it's not just about saving, it's almost painful for them to spend.
Yeah. The speaker's rich grandfather who didn't enjoy his wealth because he wouldn't spend it, that illustrates it. Like a self-imposed austerity.
Interesting. Okay, let's switch to naive. We all start out a bit naive, I suppose.
True. The lesson defines it as believing everything, being easily tricked, usually because you lack real-life experience.
Right.
The students believing the teacher's made-up stories, that's a perfect example of that kind of innocent trust.
And that leads into gullible, doesn't it? Are they just the same thing?
Very close. Gullible is presented as an alternative, but it really stresses how easily someone is tricked or fooled.
Ah, okay.
Remember Fred, lending his whole salary to colleagues who were obviously taking advantage. That's peak gullibility, believing without question, even when things look dodgy.
Yeah, that could definitely get you into trouble. Okay, last one on the negative list. Arrogant. We've all met arrogant people.
Oh, for sure. The description was being very proud, acting superior. That phrase, "look at you peasants," kind of sums it up.
Yeah, sadly relatable with some managers, like in the example.
It's true. Now, the lesson also gave us conceited and vain as related terms. How does conceited differ from just arrogant?
Good question.
Conceited seems specifically tied to thinking you're better than others, and because of that, not respecting them, it's that active belief in your own superiority.
This is not just pride, it's looking down on people.
Exactly. The
Yeah.
workers being fed up with their boss's conceited manner that suggests it really comes across in interactions.
Got it. And vain, where does that fit?
Vain is narrower. It's mostly about being overly proud of your looks or your achievements.
Ah.
Like the example of celebrities constantly checking themselves out or talking about their successes. More surface level pride, maybe?
Okay, wow.
Yeah.
That's a much more detailed way to talk about negative traits. So how does this play out in like a real conversation? The lesson had a dialogue example.
It did, yeah. And it's helpful. It's a chat about why a manager is so aggressive sometimes.
Okay.
And the reasons they float are interesting. Maybe hostile parents or a belligerent teacher back in the day, or even a tight-fisted father. It hints at how past stuff can shape current behavior.
Yeah, it's like looking for the roots of it.
Yeah.
But then didn't they also say the manager was gullible? That seems like a strange combination with aggressive.
It does, and that's what makes it realistic, I think. He's aggressive, yes, but also easily believes his employees. So you could have this dynamic where maybe some conceited or self-centered workers are playing him, taking advantage of his gullibility.
Which might make him even angrier.
Exactly. It shows people aren't just one thing, they're complex.
Yeah, it definitely makes the manager seem less like a caricature. Okay, let's flip the coin. Let's look at the positive side, beyond just good or nice.
Right. The lesson starts with outgoing, described as friendly, sociable, likes meeting people.
Pretty standard. What are the alternatives?
Well, simply sociable is one. Just emphasizes enjoying social interaction, having lots of friends, like Kathy making friends easily at parties.
Okay, that natural ease with people. Then there was gregarious. How's that different?
Gregarious seems more intense. It's not just liking company, but actively loving it, seeking it out. Scarlett preferring to travel with friends, not alone. That really shows that desire for constant companionship.
So gregarious is like sociable plus, really thrives in groups. And the last one in this group was extroverted.
Yep, extroverted. That's often contrasted with introverted, right? It's about where you get your energy. Extroverts get energized by being around others.
Like Jenny, who enjoys communicating, even with strangers.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Moving from social styles to thinking. We start with smart.
Yep, basic smart, reads a lot, knows a lot, learns quickly, clever. Then the lesson offers quick-witted.
Quick-witted. I like that.
Me too. The key here is the speed and cleverness. Thinking fast, coming up with great ideas, solving problems efficiently. Like John, the quick-witted worker.
That mental agility, thinking on your feet. Nice. What was the other alternative? Bright.
Bright, yeah. Presented as another way to say smart or intelligent. The example was John's kids being musically talented and described as bright.
So bright often implies like potential, maybe, natural aptitude.
I think so, yeah. It has that feel.
Okay. Now politeness, starting with polite.
Polite,
Right.
shows respect, isn't offensive, pretty straightforward. An alternative is respectful.
Right.
The student's giving gifts to the teacher. That's a clear outward show of respect.
Yeah, valuing others. Then the more formal one, courteous.
Courteous, yes, definitely more formal. Like the speaker's courteous chemistry teacher, it suggests maybe a more refined, maybe even slightly old-fashioned politeness, adhering to social graces.
Okay. And affable. That felt a bit different.
Affable, yeah, described as friendly, pleasant, easy to talk to, someone you just feel comfortable around.
Like the host offering a drink, making the speaker feel welcome, warm and approachable.
Exactly that. Okay, next up, integrity. Starting with honest.
Honest tells the truth. Trustworthy. Simple enough. First alternative was frank. How's that different?
Frank is interesting. It's honest, yes, saying what you think, but maybe without a filter. It might hurt feelings sometimes. Jenny telling her colleague his report was bad. That's frank. True, maybe, but potentially blunt.
Honesty without the sugarcoating. Got it. The other one was candid. How does that compare?
Candid also means honest, but the focus feels more on trustworthiness. If someone's candid, you know their words can be relied on. They're open, sincere.
Like Jack's parents believing him because
Right.
he's known to be candid. It's about that established reputation for truthfulness.
Precisely. Okay, last category, generosity. Starts with generous.
Generous.
Yeah.
Enjoys giving, helping others. What were the fancier words?
Yeah, the lesson called benevolent fancy. Benevolent implies a really genuine desire to help, often through significant actions like giving time or money.
Like the grandfather, building houses for the poor. It's a deep-seated desire to do good.
Exactly, it feels quite profound. And the last one is charitable.
Charitable.
This emphasizes an eagerness to help those in need. Mr. Smith, the charitable man with a big heart. It suggests a proactive willingness to give, often to organized causes.
Okay, another great set of nuanced words. And again, there was a dialogue example for these positive ones, right? A job interview.
There was, yeah. It shows how you might use these words yourself. The interviewee says they're sociable and honest.
But adds that little note about being frank sometimes.
Right, which makes them sound more real, adds that self-awareness.
Definitely. And the interviewer wants someone gregarious and bright.
Yep. So the interviewee then mentions being quick-witted in a past job, directly hitting that bright requirement by showing their problem-solving skills.
Smart move. And the reason for leaving the old job also used these words, didn't it?
It did. It all tied together. The interviewee said the old manager, despite being generous maybe, wasn't respectful.
Okay.
So they wanted to find a place with courteous colleagues. It shows that, different positive traits matter, and sometimes negative ones can overshadow the good ones.
That makes total sense. Okay, to really cement these, the lesson had a quiz at the end. Let's just quickly run through those.
Good idea. First question contrasted benevolent and conceited, asking which word describes colleagues who won't spend a penny to help. The answer was conceited.
Right, because conceited means thinking you're superior, lacking respect, which fits with not wanting to help others. It's not just about money, like tight-fisted.
Exactly. It's about that attitude. Second question. Describing Elon Musk creating new businesses with new ideas. The answer was bright.
Which reinforces bright as meaning intelligent, clever, especially in an innovative context.
And the last one, a manager who looks down on employees. The answer again was conceited.
Really driving home that core meaning of superiority and disdain for others. Okay, so after digging into all these advanced adjectives, what's the big takeaway for you?
For me, it's just the sheer range we have. Moving past simple labels lets us talk about people with so much more precision and insight.
Yeah, it's like getting a bigger box of crayons to color in someone's personality.
That's a great way to put it. And understanding these differences, it doesn't just give you more words, it actually sharpens how you see people, how you understand their actions.
It really does. It's like an upgrade for your people watching skills.
So maybe a final thought for you, the learner. Think about the people in your life. Do any of these words we discussed today resonate?
Yeah, could calling someone belligerent instead of just angry, or gregarious instead of just friendly, could that actually give you a new perspective on them?
It's definitely something to think about. How might this richer vocabulary change how you understand your own interactions? What new insights could it unlock?
You know that feeling when you're speaking English and you find yourself maybe reaching for the same words again and again?
Yeah, like your whole emotional range seems stuck on just happy or sad.
Right. Well, this deep dive, we're aiming to help with that. We've looked at a fantastic resource. It's a YouTube lesson from English with Kayla.
Ah, yes, the 100 most common adjectives one. It's really good.
Exactly. And Kayla's video, it's a great launch pad for anyone wanting to sound, a bit more natural, less like a textbook.
For sure. And our goal here isn't just to list all 100 adjectives. It's more about getting how these subtle word choices really shift the meaning.
Yeah, understanding the impact they have, both for expressing yourself and understanding others. We're chasing those little linguistic aha moments.
Precisely. Think of it like leveling up your conversational English, moving beyond just the basic dictionary definition.
Absolutely. So let's kick things off with a feeling we all hopefully experience often. Happiness? Happy works, but what else is in the toolkit?
Well, the alternatives paint a much clearer picture. Like cheerful, for instance.
Cheerful, right?
It's more than just feeling good now. It suggests a sort of consistent positive vibe. You'd probably describe a person as cheerful.
Okay, so it's like an ongoing quality, whereas joyful, that feels more linked to a specific event, maybe.
Exactly. You hear joyful occasion or joyful news. It's usually sparked by something specific, something special. It's not typically how you describe someone's general mood day to day.
That makes perfect sense. It's like a burst. Okay, then there's upbeat. How's that different?
Upbeat carries that sense of optimism, almost an energy. Think upbeat music and makes you feel positive, maybe look forward to things.
Yeah, I get that. An upbeat person kind of lifts the mood, maybe looks on the bright side.
Right. It's about that forward-looking positive energy.
Okay. Now, what about when you're just, well, happy, but in a quiet way? Not bouncing off the walls, just satisfied.
That's probably content. It's a calmer kind of happiness, like being content reading a book, or maybe how your cat looks napping in the sun. A peaceful feeling. Like everything's okay, you have what you need.
Exactly. It's that calm satisfaction.
Lovely. And then, at the other extreme, when something really amazing happens, you're more than happy, you're
Thrilled. Yeah, that's the one for intense excitement. Often a reaction to fantastic news, I was thrilled to hear.
got it. A real jolt of positive emotion. Wow. Okay, so even just for happy, there's quite a range.
Definitely.
Now, let's flip the coin. Sadness.
Right. And again, it's not just sad. There are nuances. Gloomy is interesting because, as Kayla mentions, it works for moods and weather.
Oh, yeah. A gloomy day, a gloomy feeling, that heavy, sort of oppressive atmosphere.
Exactly. Then for something milder, more casual, maybe you just feel a bit down.
Like I've been feeling a bit down this week. Not necessarily a huge reason, just low.
Precisely. It's less intense, much less intense than, say, heartbroken.
Oof, yeah. That word carries weight. Real emotional pain.
Definitely. It usually follows a major loss, like a relationship ending. It implies deep grief, a real wound. You can almost feel it. And then miserable. That just sounds awful all around.
It often is. Kayla explains it often blends sadness with physical discomfort, like feeling miserable when you're really sick.
Okay. So it's not just emotional sadness. It's the whole unpleasant package. Emotional, physical, circumstances.
Pretty much a generally wretched state.
Right. Okay. Moving on to something less intense, but very common. Annoyance.
Yes. And again, degrees matter. Irritating often implies something that bothers you over time, repeatedly.
Like that dripping faucet. Drives you slowly mad.
Exactly, that slow burn. Whereas obnoxious feels much more active.
Yeah, more aggressive somehow.
Often, yeah. It's usually loud, attention-seeking, maybe offensive, like someone blasting music on public transport. That's obnoxious.
Okay, I see the difference. It's actively unpleasant behavior and then frustrating.
That's when something is actively stopping you from doing what you want. Kayla's example was a computer freezing.
Right. It's not just annoying, it's actually blocking you, hindering progress.
That's the key, that sense of being blocked.
Okay, let's trade carefully with this next one. Describing a lack of intelligence. It's easy to be harsh.
It really is. Word choice is critical here. Kayla suggests foolish for silly or careless actions, things showing poor judgment.
So focused on the action more than the person's inherent ability.
Often, yes. Then there's clueless, which is more about someone being simply unaware of what's going on around them.
Oblivious. Not necessarily lacking intelligence, just not tuned in.
Kind of. She also mentions slow, meaning slow to understand, and brainless, implying thoughtlessness. But, and this is crucial,
Be careful.
extremely careful. As Kayla rightly warns, slow, and especially brainless, can be very hurtful. Use them with extreme caution, if at all. Stupid itself is often just rude.
Good point. Focus on the behavior, not labeling the person.
Yeah.
Okay, let's flip to the positive. intelligence.
Right. And again, lots of flavors. Clever often suggests skill in problem solving, maybe in a witty or ingenious way. A clever trick, a clever comment.
Okay, and sharp.
Sharp implies quick thinking, being perceptive, really grasping things quickly, like the phrase sharp as a tack.
Got it. Quick on the uptake.
Exactly. Then witty blends that sharpness with humor. A witty person makes smart and funny observations.
Always impressive. And for the top tier?
For high level, maybe more formal intelligence or expertise, you have brilliant, a brilliant scientist or brilliant strategy.
Signifies really exceptional capability.
Okay.
Now, let's talk about people who are maybe endearingly odd.
Right. Kayla covers this too. Goofy is one she mentions acting silly, maybe a bit clumsy, not quite normal, often lighthearted though.
Yeah, playful awkwardness almost. And she mentioned it's hard to translate sometimes.
Apparently so. Then there's silly, which is more straightforwardly playful, maybe childish, like making silly faces.
Innocent fun. What about dorky? That word has shifted a bit, hasn't it?
It has. Kayla describes it as awkward, maybe, but often endearing. Associated with people who are really passionate about niche interests, sometimes seen as uncool, but in a charming way.
Yeah, I like that. It's not really an insult anymore, is it?
Not necessarily. And then quirky suggests someone unusual in an interesting, maybe intriguing way. Unique habits or style.
That's character, definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, on to a less positive trait. Arrogance.
Several ways to describe this. Cocky and arrogant are pretty close to acting superior. Overly confident, maybe boastful, generally negative.
That grating sense of I'm better than you and the phrase full of themselves.
Captures it well, doesn't it? Self-absorbed, not really considering others.
Totally. And smug. That one seems very specific.
It is. It's that irritating, self-satisfied look, especially when someone thinks they've cleverly won or gotten away with something.
Yeah, that little smirk. Not a good look, as you say. Okay, how about different kinds of weird or strange people?
Kayla gives a range here. Weirdo is pretty negative, often unkind. Oddball is maybe a slightly less harsh, informal noun for someone unconventional.
A bit gentler, perhaps. What if the strangeness is more creative or unique?
That's where eccentric comes in. It describes someone unusual, often creative, maybe with unconventional habits. It's subjective, can even be positive.
Like a lovable eccentric. Okay. What about strangeness that involves being withdrawn?
She mentions standoffish and distant for someone aloof who doesn't easily connect. Then cold and unfriendly are stronger, suggesting a lack of warmth, maybe actively unwelcoming.
Right, a scale from keeping distance to actively pushing people away. Let's shift to a positive. Honesty.
Good one. Beyond just honest, Kayla highlights truthful, which is clear. Sincere adds a layer of genuine, heartfelt honesty. You believe them.
You feel the authenticity.
Exactly. And upfront describes someone direct who tells you things plainly without trying to hide anything.
I appreciate someone who's upfront. No beating around the bush. Okay, now, intense focus. Sometimes too intense.
Obsession. Obsessed can just mean very interested, but fixated implies an unhealthy level. Can't think of anything else.
Right, it takes over.
And consumed is even stronger. Thoughts, time, everything is taken over by it.
That sounds exhausting. What about for things like TV shows or hobbies?
That's often where hooked comes in. That feeling of being addicted, can't stop watching or doing it.
I'm completely hooked on this game.
Yep, know that feeling. Okay, another tricky area. Describing behavior that seems, well, crazy.
Very loaded term. Kayla offers alternatives. Nuts can be humorous for impulsive or slightly wild behavior. Wild itself suggests unpredictable, unrestrained.
Like a wild idea or a wild night out. Energetic, maybe chaotic.
Right. Out of control means unmanageable, then it gets more serious. Psycho and the slang unhinged suggest irrational, maybe extreme negative behavior.
And should be used very carefully, if at all.
Absolutely. And deranged is very strong, implying serious mental instability, loss of reason. Again, handle with extreme care.
Definitely. Okay, back to basics. Good and bad. Any upgrades?
For good, Kayla suggests solid or dependable when you mean reliable, trustworthy. It's a solid plan, a dependable friend.
Adds that layer of reliability. Thanks. And for bad?
Awful and terrible are common intensifiers for very bad. More impactful than just bad. What about unpleasant sensory stuff?
That's gross. Specifically for bad taste, smells, maybe textures. The ick factor.
Right. And horrible.
That's usually for things that are emotionally very bad. A horrible accident, horrible news, it conveys deeper distress.
Got it. Gross is physical, horrible is often emotional. Now, what about describing things as strange, not people?
Useful distinctions here. Strange is pretty neutral, just unexpected. Bizarre is stronger, much odder. Unusual is more formal, meaning not typical.
So a spectrum of weirdness, what about just odd?
Odd is milder, maybe a bit more polite way to say something's a little out of place. Unfamiliar simply means not know.
Makes sense. In the slang, off.
Yeah, something feels off. It's that vague sense that things aren't quite right. Something's amiss.
I use that one quite a bit. Okay, aiming high now. Perfection.
Ideal means perfectly suited for a purpose. Flawless means literally no flaws, no imperfections.
Pristine and spot on.
That's perfect accuracy. Your guess was spot on. His impression was spot on.
Great for precision. Okay, the opposite. Imperfection.
Well, there's imperfect, simply not perfect. Faulty means it doesn't work correctly. There's a defect. And broken means it's not working at all.
From minor issue to totally kaput. Got it. How about adaptability?
Versatile and flexible both cover that, adapting to different uses or situations. A versatile tool, a flexible approach.
And someone good at many things.
That's often all around.
Yeah.
An all-around athlete, an all-around great person.
That's full phrase. Okay, aesthetics. Describing looks, beauty, and not so beauty.
For attractiveness, you have levels. Pretty, beautiful, attractive, and then stunning for really breathtaking beauty.
Stunning really packs a punch.
It does. On the other side, unattractive is mild, but hideous is very strong, very ugly. For things looking worn out, maybe rough.
Like rough hands or a rough part of town?
Could be. And for places in disrepair, you have levels like run down, then shabby, and finally dilapidated for something really falling apart.
Creates a very clear picture of decay. Okay, what about style? Like modern style?
Smooth and sleek often suggests that modern, stylish, maybe minimalist look. Think sleek design.
Yeah, elegant and polished.
Polished suggests refinement, sophistication, something done very well with attention to detail, a polished presentation, a polished performance.
High quality finish. Good one. The opposite. Messiness.
Starts with messy, then maybe disorganized, sloppy for carelessness. Chaotic implies total disorder and cluttered.
Too much stuff everywhere.
Exactly. Yeah. Overfilled, crowded with objects.
I know, cluttered. Okay, uncomfortable situations, that feeling.
Awkward is the classic for social discomfort. Tense suggests underlying friction, potential conflict. You can feel the tension.
Yeah, the air feels thick.
Yeah.
And uneasy.
That often implies a lack of trust or feeling that something isn't quite right or safe, feeling uneasy about a situation.
A gut feeling. Okay, reactions and experiences. Excitement first.
Beyond just exciting, you have thrilling, usually more intense, maybe involving risk or adventure, a thrilling ride.
Gets the adrenaline going.
Right. Electrifying suggests high energy, often in a crowd, like an electrifying concert. And exhilarated is that feeling afterwards, overjoyed, energized by the experience.
That post-adventure buzz.
Yeah.
Okay, the flip side, boredom.
Dull is a common, maybe polite way to say mildly boring. Flat can describe something lacking emotion or excitement, like a flat delivery of a speech.
Or a flat party.
Could be. And uneventful is pretty neutral, just means nothing much happened. Not necessarily bad, just quiet.
An uneventful weekend can be nice sometimes. Okay, near the end now.
Yeah.
Describing something truly amazing.
Mind-blowing and astonishing convey that sense of shock and awe.
Wow.
Hard to process.
Really surprising.
Yep. Unbelievable can be positive or negative, just means hard to believe it's true. And jaw-dropping is when something is so amazing or shocking, you're literally speechless.
Your jaw hits the floor. Love that visual. Okay, disgust.
Disgusting is the common one for very unpleasant tastes, smells, sights, causes revulsion. Repulsive is even stronger, extremely gross.
Makes you want to look away.
Definitely. And nasty often implies very dirty or unpleasant in a mean way sometimes. A nasty cut, a nasty comment.
Got it. Finally, complexity. Things that are hard to figure out.
Complicated and complex are similar. Many parts, difficult to understand. Tricky often implies it needs skill or careful handling.
Like a tricky question or a tricky maneuver.
Exactly. And layered suggests multiple levels of meaning or depth. A layered character in a book, a layered issue.
Needs more thought to fully grasp. Wow. Okay, we have covered a lot of ground there, a whole landscape of adjectives.
We certainly have. And the real value, I think, is seeing how these slightly different words add so much precision and color to your English.
Absolutely. And for you listening, the takeaway really is to start noticing these words. Pay attention to context, Which word feels right for this specific feeling or situation?
Exactly. Making those conscious choices, incorporating some of these more nuanced words, it really can make your English sound more fluent, more confident.
It deepens your understanding too. So, maybe a final thought to leave you with. Which of these adjective groups did you find most interesting? Where do you tend to use basic words?
Yeah, think about where you could maybe swap in a more descriptive alternative next time you're speaking or writing. Maybe even check out Kayla's original video for the full list, see what other nuances you can find. All right, let's dive into something you use every day, but you probably never really think about. Words. The top 100 most common words in the English language.
Yeah, we're using the Oxford English corpus, right? It's this huge database of text.
So we're not just like skimming the surface here.
No.
This is a deep dive into these words, exploring the patterns and insights that they can reveal about us and how we communicate.
What I think is really fascinating is that a lot of these common words are incredibly old.
Yeah.
Like fossils.
Okay, so let's unpack this.
Okay.
So first up, we got to talk about these things called function words.
Right.
Can you kind of explain to us what exactly those are?
So function words, think of them as like the glue that holds a sentence together. The words like the, of, and a, to.
Okay.
And you know what's remarkable is that they completely dominate the top 20 most frequent words.
It's funny to think about, like,
Yeah.
these little tiny words.
Yeah, tiny.
They're like the most common words.
Yeah.
Can you imagine trying to have a conversation
Oh my goodness.
only using the top 20 words?
It'd be very difficult.
It would be quite a challenge.
But it highlights their importance
Right.
because they're so fundamental to the structure of our sentences.
And it's crazy to think about, too, you know, looking at this top 20, it's just like a sea of single syllable words.
Yeah.
Be, to, of.
Yeah.
Almost like our language evolved to be as efficient as possible.
And it's interesting too because when you consider that so many of these words come from Old English.
Right.
Which is the language that was spoken in England before the Norman Conquest in 1066.
So for over 1,000 years.
I know. It's incredible.
These basic building blocks of sentences have just remained stable.
It's wild. Like through all the historical events and the cultural shifts and technological advancements.
Yeah.
And yet there they are.
These core elements have just endured.
Because they represent fundamental concepts that are essential to human experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, regardless of time or place.
So these function words we've kind of established, they're like the unsung heroes of our language.
Right.
But what about the words that carry like the real meaning, right?
Yeah.
The nouns, the verbs, and the adjectives.
Yeah. Yeah.
What can we learn from those?
That's where things get really exciting.
Okay.
Let's start with the nouns.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just looking at the list here.
Yeah.
The most common noun is time.
It is.
That's pretty telling, wouldn't you say?
Very.
I mean, it seems like we as humans, we're constantly preoccupied with this concept of time.
We are.
And then, you know, you have person, year, way, day. It's just all these concepts that shape how we view the world.
What's fascinating is that many of these common nouns have multiple meanings. Which contributes to their frequency, right?
Okay.
Like, for example, way has 18 different meanings.
18.
18. Listed in the dictionary.
Wow, that's like a linguistic Swiss Army knife.
I know, right?
No wonder it's so high on the list.
And then another reason is that they form the basis of so many common phrases. Think about it. Like on time, in time, last time, next time.
Right.
It's just woven into, you know, the way we express ourselves.
Okay, let's shift gears.
Okay.
And talk about the action words, the verbs.
Yeah, so the verb.
What patterns kind of jump out at you there?
So the top 25 most frequent verbs are all one-syllable words. Be, have, do, say, get. Short, direct, to the point.
Why do you think these like fundamental actions are represented by such simple sounds?
Perhaps because they're so primal. You know, these verbs represent the most basic actions that we take: existing, possessing, performing, communicating, obtaining. You know, they're the bedrock of human experience.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
All right, and finally, let's talk about the adjectives.
Okay.
Those descriptive words.
Okay.
What tops the charts there?
Good.
Good.
Interesting.
Yeah, right?
Why good? Why good? I mean, given that human history is full of conflict and hardship.
Right.
But maybe, you know, it speaks to our innate desire for things to be positive Or at least our tendency to frame our experiences that way.
Yeah.
To focus on the good,
Okay.
even when faced with bad.
And what about some of the other adjectives on the list?
So we have new, first, last, long, great, little, old. It's like a basic set of crayons for coloring our world. Just enough to describe our basic experiences.
So we have these tiny efficient function words holding everything together.
Yeah.
And then we have these more descriptive nouns, verbs, and adjectives.
Yeah.
Kind of adding like color and meaning
Exactly.
to our sentences.
Yeah.
It's like a perfectly balanced ecosystem.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder, what does this all tell us about ourselves
Right.
when we zoom out and look at the big picture?
Wow.
What can we learn? It's like, these words are artifacts
Yeah.
from a forgotten civilization,
Right.
offering us clues
Yeah.
about, who we are.
We've been talking about how many of these words are super old.
Right.
What can we learn about the evolution of English
Yeah.
by tracing the history of some of these words?
Let's take the word good, for
Yeah.
example.
Okay.
Our most common adjective.
Yeah.
Its roots can be traced back to this Proto-Germanic word gudas, which meant fitting or suitable or appropriate.
Interesting.
And it's just fascinating how the meaning has evolved over time to encompass this wider range of positive qualities.
Right. From morality to skill.
Exactly.
So good has been around for a while.
Yeah, for a long time.
Way before modern English.
Oh, yeah, way before
Right.
it came about.
Absolutely.
Do we see similar patterns with other words?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Take the verb know.
Its origins can be traced back to the Proto-Indo-European root ene,
Wow.
which meant to know or to recognize. So that fundamental desire for knowledge, right?
Yeah.
That's deeply ingrained in our language,
Yeah.
going back thousands of years.
It's amazing how much history is packed into these simple words.
I know, it's really incredible.
We've talked about individual words, but
Yeah.
what about the big picture?
Yeah.
What are some of the most striking patterns that you see
Yeah.
in this list of 100 words?
As a whole,
Yeah.
one of the most prominent patterns is the prevalence of concrete, tangible concepts. Look at the most common nouns: time, person, year, way, day, thing, man, world, life, hand.
Okay.
Our language is very deeply grounded in the physical world.
That makes sense, especially when you consider how language evolved as a tool for survival.
Right.
Early humans, they needed to be able to communicate about hunting, gathering food, avoiding danger. So being able to talk about concrete objects
Yeah.
and actions,
Yeah.
it was essential.
Essential for survival.
And even though human societies have become much more complex,
Right.
that emphasis on the concrete world, it's still there.
It's persisted. Yeah.
But we do see evidence of abstract thought in there as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Words like know, think, want.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's not all concrete.
It's not all concrete.
What's interesting, though, is how even those abstract concepts are often expressed using metaphors
Right.
that are rooted in the physical world.
Exactly.
When we say we grasp an idea or we feel our way through a problem.
Exactly. Yeah. It's our minds are constantly looking for ways to connect the tangible and the intangible.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So in a way, this list of 100 words,
Yeah.
it gives us a window into how humans make sense of the world,
Right.
both physically and abstractly.
So it's not just a tool for communication.
No, it's much more than that.
It's a reflection of who we are
Exactly.
as a species.
Our values, our priorities, our ways of thinking,
Okay.
they're all encoded in these words.
So if we want to better understand ourselves,
Yeah.
we need to pay attention to
Language.
the language we use.
Exactly.
This deep dive has given us a really interesting look
Has.
at the interplay between language, thought, and culture.
I agree.
We've covered so much ground already, but I'm curious.
Yeah.
Is there anything else about this list of words that you find particularly intriguing?
Yeah, there are a few things actually.
Okay.
It's really amazing, how much we can learn about ourselves by just paying attention to the language that we use
Right.
every day.
Yeah.
It's almost like those optical illusions. Once you see the hidden pattern,
Right.
you can't unsee it.
And one of the things that's really stood out to me is that language isn't static.
It's no.
It's constantly evolving, just like we are. If we were to make this list again like 100 years from now, it would look totally different.
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, technology would advance.
Yeah.
Social norms would change.
Right.
New ideas would emerge.
Right.
And language adapts to all of that. Like, new words get invented. Old words take on new meanings.
Right.
And the frequency that we use words fluctuates.
So it's like a snapshot
Yeah,
of who we are right now.
it is. Yeah.
But it's also a snapshot of who we were and like maybe a hint
Yeah.
of who we might become.
That's a great point.
Makes you wonder
Yeah.
if we could add a word to this top 100 list today.
Yeah.
A word that really captures
The essence of our current moment.
our current moment in history. What would it be?
What would it be?
Yeah. What comes to mind for you?
One word that immediately jumps out at me is connection.
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 Why that word?
Well, I mean, think about it. We live in a world
Yeah.
that's more interconnected than ever before.
Right.
Technology has enabled us to communicate with people across vast distances. Access information from anywhere.
Yeah.
And that has really fundamentally changed how we live, work, and interact.
It's true. Like social media,
Yeah.
online communities, even this deep dive,
Right.
it's all about connecting.
It's all about connecting with other people.
And I think beyond the technology, there's also a growing awareness of our interconnectedness. Just on like a human level.
Okay.
We're realizing that our actions have ripple effects.
Right.
They impact not just us, but also the people around us and the planet around us.
So connection captures both the technological and the human aspects of our current moment.
And it's a good reminder that we're all part of something bigger than ourselves.
It makes me wonder,
what word would our listeners choose to add to this list?
that is a great question.
So, dear listeners, we leave you with this final thought. If you could add a word to this top 100 list, a word that reflects the current state of the world, what would it be and why?
Yeah, think about it.
Share your word of the times
How about that?
with us on social media or with a friend.
Yeah, we'd love to hear your thoughts.
And that's it for this deep dive into the 100 most common words.
I hope you enjoyed it.
Until next time, keep exploring this fascinating world of words.
Okay, so get this. Today we're looking at how to boost your English fluency with just 19 words.
Wow.
Yeah. Crazy, right? Sounds too good to be true, but that's what this whole deep dive is about.
Yeah.
We're going to look at the source material. It's like a crash course for English fluency. Just 19 words.
It's interesting because a lot of people think that to be fluent, you have to know tons of words.
Right.
But this is like the opposite. It's about using the right words at the right time.
Oh, I like that. Like having a toolbox.
Exactly.
With just the tools you need.
Yeah.
So where do we even start with this? There's all these different categories in the source material.
Well, the first one that comes to mind is transition words.
Okay, transition words.
Those little words that connect your ideas?
Like however and therefore.
Exactly. Those are great examples.
Yeah, we use those all the time.
Yeah. But they're so important.
Yeah, I never really thought about why they're important.
Well, think about it this way.
Okay.
If you were listening to someone and they just jumped from one idea to the next without any transitions,
It'd be so jarring.
that sounds so spread.
Where are you going with this? Yeah.
So transitions help everything flow. And when you use them well, you sound more organized, more articulate.
Right, because you're guiding the listener.
Exactly.
You're not just throwing random ideas out there.
It's like you're saying, hey, stick with me here. I'm taking you somewhere.
Okay, that makes sense. So those little words really make a difference.
They do.
Now, I want to talk about something that I struggle with.
Okay.
It's those power verbs and clarity adjectives. Like why say something is good
Right.
when you could say it's compelling.
Exactly. Or insightful.
Yes. Think about a time when you were just captivated by something. What words would you use to describe it?
Exactly. You want to use words that paint a picture.
Okay.
And strong verbs do that.
So instead of saying, I made a new strategy, you say, I implemented a new strategy.
Exactly. So that's much stronger.
Oh, it sounds so much better.
Right.
But sometimes I just don't have those words at my fingertips.
Right.
I know what I want to say, but
Yeah. It can be tough.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of this 19-word thing. You don't have to learn a million words.
Yeah.
Just focus on these key ones.
So quality over quantity.
Exactly. And it's not about trying to sound like super smart.
Right.
It's about being clear and effective. Like, for example, if you're sending a professional email and there's a problem, instead of saying, this is bad,
Oh, right.
you could say, this presents a challenge.
Okay, so you're still acknowledging the problem.
Right.
But in a more professional way.
Exactly.
Okay, I like that. Okay, now for the one that always trips me up.
Oh, tell me.
Affect versus effect.
Oh, classic.
I swear, I still mix these up.
Don't worry, you're not alone. Even native speakers mess these up.
Oh, thank goodness.
But it's so important to get them right.
Yeah, if you're giving a presentation or something,
Right.
it can undermine your whole message.
Exactly.
So how do we finally conquer this?
Okay, so remember this. Affect is usually a verb,
Other.
meaning to influence.
Okay.
And effect is usually a noun, meaning the result.
Okay.
So the weather affected my mood.
It influenced how you felt.
Right. And the effect of the weather was that I stayed inside.
That was the outcome. Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot more sense now.
Good.
So we've got our transition words, our power verbs and adjectives, and we've tackled those tricky word pairs. What's next?
Let's talk about natural phrases.
Ooh,
You know, those little expressions that make you sound.
like a native speaker.
Exactly.
I'm ready to unlock the secrets. What have we got?
Well, the source material mentions things like out of the blue, hit the nail on the head, think outside the box.
Okay, so I actually use those.
Yeah.
But I never thought about how they might sound
Yeah.
to someone learning English.
Right. Because for native speakers,
Yeah.
they just come naturally.
Right.
But they add so much personality to your language.
Instead of just like stating facts.
Exactly.
You're adding flavor.
Right.
It's like adding spices to a dish.
I love that analogy.
So the other day, I was telling my friend
Yeah.
how I saw someone I hadn't seen in years.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I ran into him out of the blue.
Yeah.
It just felt more natural than
Gosh.
saying, I saw him unexpectedly.
Yeah, those natural phrases, they just add another level.
They do. They do. I'm definitely going to pay more attention to those
Good.
and try to use them more.
Yeah.
It's amazing how these small tweaks can really make a difference.
That's what this whole 19-word approach is about.
Yeah.
Giving you the tools to communicate better.
So we've got our transitions, our power verbs, tricky pairs, natural phrases. What's the final tool in our fluency toolbox?
Let's talk about those advanced nouns.
Oh, okay.
You know, words like dilemma, momentum, consensus.
Yeah, those are the ones that make you sound really smart.
They do.
But I'll be honest, I sometimes get a little intimidated by them.
Yeah.
Like I'll be in a conversation and think, oof, there's a better word for this.
Right.
But I just can't think of it.
I totally understand.
Yeah.
It's normal to feel that way.
Okay.
Because we don't use those words every day.
Right.
But when you do use them,
Yeah.
it shows a deeper understanding of the language.
Like you're saying, hey, I know what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
I like that. Okay, challenge accepted. I'm going to try to use those more.
Good.
Maybe I'll impress myself.
I think you will. And remember, it's not about sounding smarter than everyone.
Right.
It's about using language effectively.
Okay, so we've explored all these categories
Yeah.
of these 19 words. But how do we actually put this into practice? The source material does mention some practice tips.
It does. It talks about the importance of practice.
Right, because it's not enough to just know the words.
Exactly. You have to use them.
You have to actually use them.
Yes. And one tip is to start small.
Okay,
Don't try to use all 19 words at once.
right. That would be overwhelming.
It would be. So just focus on one or two at a time.
That's a great point. It's like breaking it down into smaller steps
Exactly.
so it feels less daunting.
And remember, fluency is a journey.
Not a destination.
Right. So be patient with yourself and celebrate your progress.
Okay, I love that.
It even says, like, try to use just one new word a day.
Oh, wow.
Like, imagine you
Yeah.
could add 365 new words to your vocabulary in a year.
That's amazing.
Oh.
That would totally change the game.
Right.
And doesn't even sound that hard.
No.
I could definitely use one new word a day.
Yeah.
It's like a fun little challenge.
It is. It's all about that momentum, you know?
Yeah, those little wins.
Exactly. It keeps you going.
And it makes it feel less overwhelming.
Totally.
Like this whole less is more idea.
Yeah.
Focus on the essentials,
Right.
master those, and then you'll sound more fluent.
Exactly. It's about being intentional, right?
Yeah.
Choosing the words that really matter.
You know, we've all had those moments where someone says just the right thing
Yes.
and it just hits you.
It's powerful, right?
It is. Like it makes you think or feel something.
Exactly.
And that's the power of choosing your words carefully.
It is. You know, there's that famous quote. It's like, I would have written a shorter letter, but I didn't have the time.
That's so true.
Right. Because being concise,
Yeah,
it actually takes more effort,
it does.
but it's worth it.
Yeah, it's the difference between just speaking and really communicating.
Exactly.
Think about a speech that's moved you. It's probably not full of like jargon or super complicated words.
Right.
It's simple, but powerful.
Yeah, the words resonate with you.
They do. It's like
Like what?
it's like a chef who uses just a few high quality ingredients,
Okay. Yeah.
but creates an amazing dish.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, they're not trying to like overwhelm you with flavors.
Right.
It's all carefully selected.
So if we apply that to language, it's about being mindful of how we combine words.
To get our message across.
Exactly.
It's like the grammar of fluency.
It is. It's not just knowing the words. It's
Yeah.
how you put them together.
Yeah, the structure, the tone, the emphasis.
Right.
You know, as we're talking, I'm realizing fluency isn't just about sounding native.
No.
It's about connecting with people.
Exactly. It's like building bridges.
Yeah, between minds and heart.
When you can express yourself clearly,
Yeah.
it opens up so many possibilities.
I mean, you're free to share your ideas, your stories,
Yeah.
without feeling limited by language.
Exactly.
That's so empowering.
It is. Fluency lets you participate in conversations, build relationships, advocate for things you care about.
Wow.
You can even inspire others with your words.
I love that. It's about having a voice
Yes.
and using it.
And, you know, I've definitely held back from saying things.
Really?
Yeah, because I wasn't sure if I could say it right.
Oh, I get that.
But with practice,
Yeah.
those barriers come down.
Okay, so this 19-word approach,
Yeah.
it's like a starting point to build
From feeling intimidated to feeling empowered.
We talk a lot about personal growth on this show.
Yeah.
And I think language is such a big part of that.
Totally.
It's how we express ourselves.
Yeah.
How we connect with the world.
It's essential.
And it's a journey that never really ends.
It doesn't. Language is always changing.
That's true.
So there's always more to learn.
Okay. I think this is a good place to take a pause.
Sound good.
But don't go anywhere.
We'll be right back.
We have more to share. All right. So we're back. And I was just thinking, this whole fluency thing, it's not just about sounding like a native speaker.
Right.
It's about really connecting with people.
It is. It's like you're able to express yourself more fully.
So someone listening might be thinking, okay, this is all great, but how do I actually,
Yeah.
use this?
Well, remember that source material?
Yeah.
It really stresses that you don't have to know every word in the dictionary.
Oh, thank goodness.
Right. It's about choosing the right words
Okay.
to express yourself clearly.
And confident.
Yes.
And what I like about this approach is it's for anyone, no matter your level.
Exactly. Beginner, advanced.
Yeah.
It's about shifting your mindset
Okay.
from feeling overwhelmed
Yeah.
to focusing on the essentials, like those 19 words.
So it's like having a strong foundation.
Yes.
Instead of trying to build like a skyscraper on sand.
Exactly. And remember, it's a journey,
Yeah.
not a destination.
Be patient, celebrate the progress.
And enjoy those aha moments.
I love those. Like when you use a new word and it just clicks.
It feels so good. You know, one thing I keep thinking about is how important it is to be intentional with language.
Oh, yeah. That's been coming up for me, too.
It's not just about speaking fluently.
Right.
It's about speaking thoughtfully.
Choosing your words carefully.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Making sure your message is clear.
So it has the impact you want.
Right. Like it's the difference between throwing a dart randomly
Okay.
and aiming for the bullseye.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Intentionality brings focus.
Yes. And it shows in how people perceive you
Okay.
when you use language precisely.
Yeah.
You sound more confident, more credible.
It's like you're saying, I respect your time, so I'm going to make every word count.
Exactly.
So, to wrap things up, I have a question for our listeners out there.
Okay. What is it?
We focused on these 19 words, but what other words or phrases do you think are essential for fluency?
I love that question.
Good.
Because it shows that language is always changing. Right. There are always new words to learn.
New things to discover.
So keep expanding your vocabulary.
That's such a good reminder. It's a lifelong journey.
It is.
No matter how fluent you think you are.
There's always more to learn.
I love that.
Oh.
Okay, so to our listener, keep your ears open, your mind curious, and your tongue practicing.
The world needs to hear your voice.
Yes. And fluency is the key to unlocking its potential.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
All right, so, sometimes I feel like I'm stuck in a bit of a vocabulary rut, using the same words day after day.
I know what you mean.
But I was looking at this guide to 20 advanced words, the kind that, can really make you sound smarter in everyday conversations.
Yeah.
And I thought it would be fun to kind of deep dive into some of these words.
I think that's a great idea. It's not just about sounding smart, though, right?
Right.
It's more about expressing yourself with more precision and nuance. And honestly, even understanding how other people are using language to kind of persuade you or inform you.
Right, yeah. It's like you can be more persuasive and also not be persuaded by other people.
Exactly.
So we're not aiming to turn everyone into Shakespeare here.
No.
But I bet you'd be surprised how many of these words you've already encountered
Yeah.
without realizing, how much they can elevate your communication.
Absolutely. And that's actually what's so interesting about this particular set of words. They're not pulled from some obscure academic journal or something like that.
Right.
They're words that appear in everyday conversations, articles, books, you name it.
Yeah.
So knowing them inside and out, that really makes you a better speaker.
Yeah.
But it also makes you a more critical listener at the same time.
Yeah, that's a great point. It's like having a secret decoder ring for the English language.
I like that.
Yeah. So let's unlock some of these words.
Okay.
What's our first one?
Well, we'll start with intriguing. Now, on the surface, it just means very interesting.
Yeah.
But think about the difference between saying, that movie sounds interesting,
Right.
versus that movie sounds intriguing.
Ooh, yeah. Intriguing definitely has more weight to it.
Right.
It's like you're saying that movie has hooked your curiosity and you need to know more.
Precisely. It suggests a much deeper level of engagement. You're not just passively interested, you're actively drawn in.
It's almost like intriguing implies there's a mystery to unravel.
Yeah, there's something more to it.
Yeah, okay, what's next on our list?
Let's go with diligent, meaning showing care and perseverance in your work. Now, you could easily just say someone is hardworking, but diligent, that carries a different connotation, doesn't it?
It does. Hardworking just sounds like putting in the hours. But diligent, like you said, it makes me think of someone who's truly dedicated to their work.
Exactly.
Who really takes pride in what they're doing.
And that distinction can make all the difference, especially in like a professional setting.
Oh, totally.
Imagine you're describing a colleague to your boss, right? Diligent paints a much more impressive picture.
Right. It subtly implies that they go above and beyond just the bare minimum.
Exactly.
Okay, I'm already feeling my vocabulary muscles getting stronger. What's word number 3?
Let's tackle one we all know too well. Tedious.
Yes.
Meaning, of course, boring and repetitive, something that just seems to drag on forever.
Yeah. Tedious is the perfect word for that stack of paperwork on my desk.
Oh, I know.
Or that meeting that could have been an email.
Exactly. But the reason this word is so useful is that it allows you to express that feeling of boredom
Right.
in a more sophisticated way.
So instead of just groaning that something's boring,
Yeah,
using tedious actually makes you sound more articulate.
precisely.
Right.
And it also allows you to be more specific about, what kind of boredom you're experiencing.
Okay.
Tedious implies a sense of monotony, of having to do something repetitive and unchallenging.
That's a good point. It's like saying, this is boring and it's making me feel drained because it's just so mindless.
Right. And by using that kind of nuanced language, you're really signaling to others that you're thoughtful and attentive to detail, even when you're describing something, negative.
Okay, I can definitely see how that could come in handy. Let's keep going.
Okay.
What's our next word?
This one's a big one, and we hear it used a lot, especially these days. Unprecedented. It means, quite simply, never done or known before.
This is definitely a word that carries a lot of weight, especially in the news.
Oh, yeah.
It feels like every other day there's some unprecedented event happening.
I know, right? But that's why it's so important to understand its true meaning.
Okay.
Unprecedented isn't just about something being new or different. It's about something being truly groundbreaking,
Yeah.
something that breaks the mold.
So it's not just about a change, it's about a truly significant shift
Exactly.
that's never, ever been seen before.
It's about recognizing those moments in history or in science or culture
Yeah.
that just completely change the game.
And by using unprecedented correctly, we can avoid kind of diluting its power and make sure that it's used only when it's truly warranted.
Absolutely. It's about using language with precision and impact.
Okay. That's 4 words down, 16 to go.
Wow, we're making progress.
I know, I'm feeling more confident already.
That's great to hear.
What's up next?
Let's aim for completeness with comprehensive.
Okay.
This word signals that something is complete, thorough, including all the necessary details.
So instead of just, asking for a report, I could ask for a comprehensive report.
Yes.
Meaning I want all the data, all the analysis, no stone unturned.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And imagine, like, you're reading a review of some new gadget, right? A comprehensive review that would cover all its features, the pros and cons, comparisons to other similar products, and so on.
It's like saying, give me the full picture, leave nothing out.
Precisely. Comprehensive just implies a level of depth.
Yeah.
And thoroughness that goes, beyond the surface.
I can see this word being useful in all sorts of situations.
Oh, yeah.
Work, research, even just planning a trip.
Absolutely.
Okay, what's word number 6?
Let's get a little more nuanced here.
Okay.
With subtle.
Okay.
This word describes something that's not obvious, delicate, or understated.
Ooh, subtle is a good one. It's like in noticing those little details that most people might miss.
Yeah.
Like a subtle hint of spice in a dish, or a subtle change in someone's mood.
Exactly. And this word is all about being perceptive, about paying attention to the fine details.
Yeah.
It suggests a level of awareness and understanding that goes beyond the superficial.
I love that. It's like saying, I see what you did there, but in a much more sophisticated way.
Exactly. Subtle implies a deeper level of observation.
Yeah.
And insight.
This is great. We're already starting to unpack some really interesting words here.
I know, this is fun.
What's up next?
This one might hit a little close to home for us. Jargon. It refers to the specialized language used by a particular group or profession.
Oh, yeah. I think we're all guilty of using jargon sometimes. It's so easy to fall into that trap.
I know.
Especially when you're talking to people in your own field.
But being aware of jargon and knowing when to avoid it, that is crucial for effective communication.
Yeah.
Think about it. Have you ever been in a conversation where you felt completely lost?
Oh, yeah.
Because everyone was just using all these technical terms that you just didn't understand.
Absolutely. It's like they're speaking a different language.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel so excluded.
Yes.
Or even intimidated,
Exactly. So while jargon can be useful, within a specific group, it's important to remember that clear, simple language, that's usually the best way to communicate with a wider audience.
Right. It's about making sure that everyone is on the same page, regardless of their background or expertise. Okay, what's word number 8 on our list?
Let's talk about ambitious.
Okay.
A word that often gets thrown around. But do we really understand its full meaning? It's more than just wanting to succeed.
Yeah.
It's about having this strong desire to achieve something truly significant.
So it's not just about climbing the corporate ladder. It's about setting goals that are truly challenging and meaningful.
Exactly. Think about it. You could say that someone's ambitious because they want to be a CEO, right?
Right.
But you could also say that a scientific research project is ambitious because it aims to solve some major global problem.
So ambitious can apply to individuals and their goals, but also to projects, ideas, even entire organizations.
Absolutely. It's about setting the bar high and striving for something that pushes the boundaries.
I like that. It's about aiming for excellence, for making a real impact.
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep this vocabulary train rolling. What's word number 9?
This one's crucial in our increasingly interconnected world. Empathy.
Okay.
The ability to understand and share the feelings of others.
Empathy is more than just sympathy, right? It's about truly putting yourself in someone else's shoes and seeing the world from their perspective.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that everyone has their own unique experiences and perspectives and being able to connect with them on like an emotional level.
I can see how empathy is essential in so many areas of life, from personal relationships to professional settings to even just navigating society as a whole.
Absolutely. It allows us to build stronger relationships, resolve conflicts more effectively, and just create a more compassionate and understanding world.
All right, we're almost through our first 10 words.
I know. Can you believe it?
What's the last one we'll tackle in this section?
Let's finish with reluctant.
Okay.
It describes someone who's unwilling or hesitant to do something.
I feel like I use this word all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm reluctant to try that new restaurant because I've heard mixed reviews.
Yeah, exactly. Or he was reluctant to share his ideas because he was afraid of being criticized.
It's about expressing a sense of hesitation or reservation without being outright, negative or dismissive.
Right. And sometimes that hesitation, it's warranted.
Totally.
Reluctant can signal that you need more information or convincing before you're ready to fully commit.
Okay, so we've covered 10 fantastic words already.
I know, it's amazing.
I can already feel my communication skills leveling up.
Me too.
But this is just the beginning, right?
This is just the tip of the iceberg.
We've got 10 more words to explore in the next part of our deep dive.
Oh yeah, we're just getting started. Welcome back. I hope you've got your mental dictionaries ready.
Yeah.
Because we're about to unlock 10 more powerful words
Okay.
that can add some serious punch to your vocabulary.
I'm ready to expand my linguistic horizons even further.
Excellent.
What's the first word we're tackling in this round?
Let's start with elaborate, which means to explain something in greater detail.
Okay.
Think of it as going beyond the surface level, really fleshing out your thoughts.
I can see how elaborate would be useful in so many situations. Like if someone gives a presentation with a really interesting idea, you could say, "That sounds fascinating. Can you elaborate on that point?"
Exactly. It's a great way to encourage deeper discussion and get to the heart of a matter. You're signaling that you're not just passively listening,
Right.
but you're actively seeking a more comprehensive understanding.
It's like saying, "Tell me more, I'm all ears."
I love it.
Okay, what's next on our list of vocabulary power-ups?
Let's embrace a little bit of the unexpected
Okay.
with spontaneous.
Okay.
This word describes something done without planning,
Right.
something impulsive and in the moment.
Ooh, I love a good dose of spontaneity. It's like throwing caution to the wind and just going with the flow.
And sometimes, those spontaneous decisions, those lead to the most memorable experiences.
For sure.
Think about it. Have you ever just taken a spontaneous road trip?
Oh, yeah.
Or decided on a whim to try a new restaurant?
Yes. And those are often the stories I end up telling over and over again.
Yeah.
Right? It's like spontaneity injects a little bit of magic into life.
I completely agree. It keeps things interesting. It allows us to break free from our routines.
Okay, I'm feeling energized by that word. What's next on our list?
Let's come back down to earth a little bit
Okay.
with mundane, which describes something ordinary, routine,
Yeah.
or even a bit boring.
I think we all experience those moments of mundanity in our lives.
Oh, absolutely.
It's the everyday stuff that we just have to get through.
But here's the interesting thing about mundane. It's all about perspective. What one person finds mundane, another person might actually find comforting
Oh, that's interesting.
or even enjoyable.
That's a good point. Like, I find folding laundry to be incredibly mundane, but my partner actually finds it really relaxing.
Exactly. So while mundane, might have these kind of negative connotations, it's important to remember that it's subjective.
Yeah.
What matters is how we choose to approach those everyday tasks
Right.
and find meaning in them.
Okay, I like that reframing of mundane. It's a reminder to find the silver lining even in those, most ordinary moments. What's our next word?
Let's get real with candid,
Okay.
which means open, honest, and straightforward.
Candid. I appreciate people who are candid. Even when it's not always easy to hear,
Right.
It shows a level of authenticity
Yeah.
and respect,
And that candid communication, that is crucial for building trust
Uh-huh.
and strong relationships.
Totally.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Would you rather someone sugarcoat their feedback or just be upfront and honest with you?
Oh, definitely upfront and honest.
Yeah.
It might be uncomfortable in the moment,
Yeah.
but ultimately it's so much more helpful
Yeah,
and productive.
exactly. Candid allows for real conversations to happen.
Yeah.
And we can learn and grow from each other's perspectives.
Okay, I'm ready for our next word. What have you got?
Let's find some relief
Okay.
with alleviate, which means to reduce or relieve pain, difficulty, or stress.
Ooh, alleviate feels like a very soothing word. Like taking a deep breath and feeling the tension just melt away.
I love that. Think about it in different contexts. Like a doctor might prescribe medication to alleviate a patient's pain.
Uh-huh.
A government might implement policies to alleviate poverty.
Right.
Or even on a personal level, you could say, listening to music helps me alleviate stress.
Exactly. Alleviate can be applied to such a wide range of situations.
Oh, yeah.
From physical discomfort to emotional distress to societal problems. It's about taking action to make things better.
Yes. To ease burdens.
Okay, we're over halfway through our second set of words.
I know, this is going by fast.
What's next on our vocabulary adventure?
Let's talk about versatile, which describes something or someone who's adaptable,
Okay.
able to be used or function in many different ways.
Oh, versatile is a great word to have in your arsenal, especially in today's world where adaptability is so highly valued.
Absolutely. Think about, like a chef who can cook any cuisine, or like a tool that can be used for multiple tasks. That's versatility in action.
It's about being resourceful, adaptable, being able to pivot and thrive in different situations.
And in a world that's constantly changing, versatile individuals and organizations, they have a distinct advantage. They can navigate challenges and seize opportunities with, greater ease.
Okay, I'm making a note to add versatile to my resume. What's up next?
Let's acknowledge those moments of unplanned action.
Okay.
With impulsive, meaning acting without thinking about the consequences.
Oh, impulsive. That can be both exciting and a little bit dangerous.
That's right.
Sometimes those spur-of-the-moment decisions lead to these amazing adventures, and other times, not so much.
It's true. Impulsivity can be a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
It can lead to spontaneity, excitement, but it can also lead to regret if we're not careful.
I think it's about finding that balance between being open to new experiences and making sure we're not acting recklessly.
Exactly. And sometimes a little bit of planning can go a long way in preventing those impulsive decisions from backfiring.
Okay, I'm ready for our next word. What have we got?
Let's vent a little.
Okay.
With frustrating.
Okay.
Which describes something that causes annoyance or disappointment.
Oh, frustrating. We've all been there.
Oh, yes.
Those moments when things just don't go our way.
Yeah.
Or we encounter obstacles that seem impossible to overcome.
But here's the thing about frustration. It can actually be a powerful motivator.
Oh, interesting.
Think about it. When you're frustrated by a problem, you're more likely to put in the effort to solve it.
That's a good point. It's like frustration can fuel our creativity and our problem-solving skills.
Exactly. So next time you're feeling frustrated, try to channel that energy into finding a solution. Into overcoming the challenge.
Okay, we're down to our last two words in this set.
I know, I can't believe it.
What's up next?
Get ready to be captivated by compelling, which describes something that evokes interest, attention, or admiration.
I love the word compelling. It's like a magnet,
Yeah.
It draws you in and makes you want to learn more.
Think about a book that you just couldn't put down.
Oh, yeah.
Or like a speech that left you feeling so inspired. Those are examples of compelling content.
It's about creating something that truly resonates with people.
Yeah.
That leaves a lasting impact.
And it's not just limited to words, like a compelling piece of art, a compelling performance,
Yeah.
even a compelling personality. All of those can have that same magnetic effect.
Okay, on to our final word for this segment.
All right, let's do it.
What do we got?
Let's conclude with the power of resilience.
Okay.
With resilient, meaning able to recover quickly from difficulties or setbacks. It's about bouncing back from challenges.
Yeah.
Stronger than before.
Resilient is such an important quality to have, especially in today's world, where we're constantly facing uncertainty and change.
Absolutely. Think about it. Resilient people, they don't let setbacks define them.
Right?
They learn from their mistakes. They adapt to new situations.
Yeah.
And they just keep moving forward.
It's about having that inner strength and determination to overcome obstacles and come out on the other side.
Yeah.
Even stronger than before.
Exactly. Resilience is about embracing challenges as opportunities for growth.
Yeah.
And using them to fuel, our personal development.
Okay, we've explored another 10 amazing words. I'm feeling so empowered by this expanded vocabulary. But before we move on, I'm curious. Which word from this set really resonated with you?
It's hard to choose just one. They all, so many of them, feel so relevant to everyday life. But I think resilient, that one's really sticking with me.
Yeah, I can see why.
It's such a powerful reminder that we can bounce back from challenges,
It is. And it ties in nicely with something we've been highlighting throughout this whole deep dive, right?
Learning and using these words, it isn't just about sounding smarter.
Right.
It's about equipping yourself to navigate the world more effectively.
It's like we're giving our listeners a toolbox.
Yeah.
Filled with these linguistic power tools.
I like that analogy.
Uh-huh.
And just like any good toolbox, it's important to keep adding new tools, right?
Right.
As you encounter new challenges and situations.
So this deep dive, it's really just the beginning, right?
It is.
It's about sparking curiosity and encouraging our listeners to keep exploring. This vast and fascinating world of language.
A lifelong journey.
So where can our listeners go from here? What are some, practical tips for expanding their vocabularies even further?
Well, there's so many great resources available these days. You could start a word of the day ritual, subscribe to those online dictionaries or like etymology blogs.
Oh, yeah.
Or even just make a conscious effort to pay attention to the language used in your favorite books, podcasts, movies.
I love that idea of making it a daily habit.
Yeah.
It's like a mini workout for your brain,
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Flexing those linguistic muscles.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to use those new words in your own conversations, right?
Right.
The more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
That's such an important point. It's not enough to just memorize the definitions.
Right.
We need to actually put these words into practice,
Yeah.
to really make them our own.
Think of it this way. Every new word you learn, it's like adding a new color to your palette. It gives you more options for expressing yourself with nuance and precision.
So before we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with a bit of a challenge.
Okay.
What's one word you learned today that you're going to commit to using in a conversation this week?
Ooh, that's a good one. And I would add to that, how will using that word change the way you communicate? The way you're perceived?
Yeah.
Or even the way you think?
That's a great question to ponder. Remember, the power of language is immense. It shapes our thoughts, influences our actions, and connects us to each other.
It really does.
So go forth, listeners, and wield those words with confidence and intention.
I love it.
That's it for our deep dive into 20 advanced words you can use every day.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, happy wordsmithing.
When you hear certain words, don't they just kind of bring that holiday feeling to life? We're going to dive into some Christmas vocabulary today.
Yeah.
But we're going deeper than just, dictionary definitions.
Right.
We're really trying to see how these words reflect like culture and tradition.
Absolutely. I think that language is such a good window into how people experience the world.
Yeah.
And that's definitely true for holidays like Christmas, for sure.
Okay, so we've got 19 of these most useful Christmas words to unpack.
Okay.
From the source material you sent over. And some are, pretty familiar, like festive and carol.
Right.
But I have a feeling that even those have kind of some hidden depths.
Oh, for sure. You'd be surprised at how much history and nuance is packed into those everyday words.
Yeah.
For example, festive isn't limited to just Christmas.
Right.
It speaks to a much broader human need for celebration and ritual.
That's interesting. Yeah. I've always associated carols with, religious celebrations mostly, but I can see how they've evolved into something more than that over time.
Oh, absolutely. Carols have their roots in ancient traditions, and they served as a form of storytelling and even social commentary back then.
Wow. And some carols still use that beautiful old word, Yuletide, right?
Yeah.
Seems like we're bringing back some of those older terms.
There's definitely a renewed appreciation for the language of tradition.
Yeah.
That actually reminds me, we've got tinsel, bauble, and ornament on our list.
Oh, yeah.
These words bring up a lot of sensory memories, don't they?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Especially tinsel. Who hasn't spent like an hour untangling that stuff?
Yay.
Oh, my goodness. And speaking of decorations, did you know there's actually a difference between bauble and ornament?
That's right. Bauble is more common in British English, while ornament is the more general term.
Okay.
And the source actually gives us the example. The tree looks beautiful with all the ornaments.
Yeah. The source also mentions gift exchange.
Yeah.
The way we exchange gifts really shapes the whole Christmas experience, doesn't it? Whether it's a big family gathering or just a quiet exchange of small tokens of appreciation.
Yeah. It's fascinating how gift-giving traditions vary across cultures.
Yeah.
And even within families. The word exchange itself implies a kind of reciprocity, but that can take so many different forms.
Right. There are some real cultural gems on this list,
Yeah.
like mulled wine.
Yeah.
Now, that's a word that instantly warms me up.
Right.
Have you ever tried a Christmas cracker, though?
Ah, the Christmas cracker. It's a fun British tradition
Yep.
where you pull apart a paper tube with another person.
Hmm.
It makes a little pop. And inside you find a small gift, a paper crown,
Wow.
and often a joke or a riddle.
That sounds so fun.
Yeah.
The source says, we pulled crackers before starting our Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
Maybe we should try that tradition sometime.
I think you'd enjoy it. Speaking of traditions, we can't forget the words that represent, like, the heart of Christmas, nativity and reindeer.
Those really capture the two sides of Christmas, don't they? The religious story and the more whimsical, fantastical elements.
Yeah.
Like Santa Claus and flying reindeer and all that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's amazing how those two words, nativity and reindeer, can evoke such different images and emotions, right?
Yeah.
The nativity scene with its quiet reverence,
Right.
and then reindeer representing the magic and excitement of, like, Christmas Eve.
Right. And speaking of reindeer, I can't help but think of Rudolph.
Oh, of course.
You know, Rudolph, the red-nosed reindeer.
Right.
Our source even points it out. Rudolph is the most famous reindeer of all.
Of course, he's become a cultural icon in his own right,
He has.
symbolizing acceptance and the idea that what makes you different can also make you extraordinary.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
That ties in nicely with the word holly, don't you think?
Yeah.
It's not just a decoration. It's a symbol of hope and resilience in the middle of winter.
That's a great observation. Holly has been associated with Christmas for centuries,
Really?
and the source provides a lovely example of its use. We decorated the table with holly and candles.
Oh.
It really adds a festive touch, doesn't it?
It does. It's interesting how certain plants become so intertwined with specific times of year.
Right.
Like you mentioned earlier, language really does reflect our relationship with the natural world.
Absolutely. We also have sleigh on our list,
Oh, yeah.
which evokes a very specific image of winter travel,
Mm-hmm.
especially when you consider the source's mention of a horse-drawn sleigh.
It's a classic image, isn't it?
Yeah.
The horse-drawn sleigh, the snow falling softly.
Yeah.
It's like a scene from a Christmas card.
Yeah.
That makes me think of the word frosty,
Yeah.
which is so evocative of that crisp winter air.
Frosty really captures that sensory experience of Christmas.
Yeah.
The source paints a perfect picture with its example. The frosty morning was perfect for building a snowman.
And who doesn't love a good snowman? Though I have to admit, my favorite winter activity might involve an advent calendar.
Oh, yeah.
Those little doors hiding daily treats.
Yeah.
It's all about the anticipation.
Right.
What are some unique advent calendar traditions you've come across?
When I was younger, my family had a handmade advent calendar with tiny pockets,
Oh, wow.
and each day held a little note or a small treat. It wasn't about the grandeur of the gifts,
Yeah.
but the small moments of joy leading up to Christmas.
That's so heartwarming.
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that the essence of the holidays isn't always about material things,
Right.
It's about those shared experiences and traditions.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to something we touched on earlier, how language shapes our understanding of Christmas.
We've only just scratched the surface, haven't we?
Right.
But exploring these 19 words has shown us how vocabulary can be a powerful tool for understanding tradition history
Yeah.
and even the different ways people experience the holidays.
It's like each word is a little window into the vast and varied world of Christmas traditions.
Yeah.
And I think it's time to open one more window. Remember how we talked about adding like one word to this list?
Yeah.
A word that really captures the essence of Christmas for you?
Yeah, that's the real heart of this whole deep dive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's not just about learning new words. It's about reflecting on what those words mean to us personally.
Exactly. And thinking about that one word, that personal touchstone for the holidays,
Right.
it can really spark some interesting conversations.
Yeah.
What word comes to mind for you?
For me, it might be generosity.
Oh,
It's about that spirit of giving,
Yeah.
not just material gifts, but also our time, kindness, and compassion.
that's a beautiful choice. And it really does remind me of something we've kind of seen throughout this whole exploration of Christmas vocabulary,
Yeah.
how these words connect us to something bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely. Whether it's the sense of community evoked by Carol
Yeah.
or the historical depth of Yuletide,
Right.
these words carry echoes of shared experiences and traditions.
And even a simple word like frosty can transport us back to childhood memories
Right.
of snowy days and winter wonder.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive,
Yeah.
I encourage you to hold on to that word you chose. That word that encapsulates the spirit of Christmas for you.
Yeah.
Let it guide you through this season and maybe even share it with someone else.
Yeah, I like that. Because sometimes the most meaningful conversations
Right.
start with a single word from both of us.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Hey, everyone. Super stoked to have you all here as we kind of like really jump into this topic. I know you're all obsessed with, mastering English.
It's a pretty big deal, right?
Totally. So we're going to be dissecting this awesome guide called, let me see, a comprehensive 1-hour guide. And not just like summarizing it,
Oh, wait.
but pulling out the gems, those like super motivating nuggets to keep you going on your English journey.
And this guide, I gotta say, it's not your typical, like, learn English in 5 minutes kind of thing.
Ugh, those drive me crazy.
Yeah. It goes deeper, looks at the psychology, like why we struggle, how to rewire our thinking,
Totally. And we'll uncover some surprising things too.
You bet.
Like, did you know even native speakers mess up sometimes?
Yeah.
And like watching Friends can be educational. Who knew?
Right. It's about finding what works for you, and this guide's like this toolbox of different approaches, so.
I'm excited to dig in. But first, like the big WHY, right? Want to put in the effort.
The guide starts with this idea of open doors to opportunities, and they use this travel example. Imagine you're like in a bustling market in, I don't know, Morocco or something.
Oh, I love Morocco.
Right. And you can haggle prices, ask for directions, actually connect with people, not just gestures,
That's the dream. But it's bigger than just travel, right?
Way bigger. Think global communication, business, ideas. English is like the key to this whole network.
So it's becoming a citizen of the world. Kind of love that. The guide also talks about building confidence. We know learning anything new does that. But why is it special with language?
Well, language is how we express ourselves, connect. It's part of our identity, right? So the more you practice English, the more confident you become, not just in the language, but in yourself, navigating the world.
It's like that moment when you realize you understand a whole conversation without translating in your head. Bam.
Total mind-blown moment. And speaking of unlocking things, there's this point about cultural connection that really hit me.
We do. It's huge. Imagine enjoying movies, books, music, all that without the language barrier. Like,
You get it, right? It's like gaining access to this whole new world of art and entertainment, that feeling when you get a joke in your favorite show without subtitles. Magic.
pure magic. But let's be real. It's not all sunshine and roses. There are bumps in the road.
Definitely.
And the guide dives into those common obstacles. And one that probably hits everyone is, lack of time.
Oh, tell me about it.
Right. Between work, life, just existing, finding time to practice feels impossible.
And that's where the guide gets really interesting. It debunks this myth that you need hours each day, like some kind of language hermit.
No thanks.
Yeah, they emphasize consistency over intensity. Even 15, 20 minutes consistently can make a huge difference. It's about using those little pockets of time we all have.
That is so reassuring. Because I think a lot of people get scared off thinking they got to like quit their job to learn English.
Exactly.
The other big one, and this one I'll admit gets to me, is fear of mistakes.
Oh, yeah. That can be paralyzing.
It is. Like, I freeze up thinking about making a mistake. So what does the guide say about that?
Well, it's all about a mindset shift. Mistakes aren't failures. They're like stepping stones, proof you're learning,
I love that. Takes the pressure off because honestly, who's perfect?
Nobody. The guide uses this analogy of learning to ride a bike. You're going to wobble, maybe fall, but each time you get back on, you're getting better.
Yeah.
Language is similar. Every mistake means you're pushing your boundaries. That's where the magic happens.
Okay, feeling pumped already. We've got the why, busted some myths. Now for the fun part, those game-changing techniques to make learning not just bearable, but enjoyable. What's the guide got for us?
Buckle up because it's about to get interesting. So the guide jumps into these practical tips to stay motivated. And, it all starts with something that seems obvious, but we often miss it. Setting clear goals.
Ugh, goals. Isn't that like generic self-help stuff? I feel like I hear that everywhere.
Yeah.
I hear ya, but the guide gets specific. It's not just learn English. It's about how to set goals for language learning using frameworks that work.
Frameworks. Okay, now I'm curious. Give me the deets.
So they talk about short-term and long-term goals, which makes sense, but it goes deeper, like using the SMART goal method.
SMART goals. I've heard of those, but how's that language specific?
Instead of like become fluent, which is super vague, a SMART goal could be learn 10 business English words every day for a month and use them in practice conversations twice a week.
Whoa, that's way more concrete. I can actually picture that. It's like actionable.
Exactly. And that's what keeps us motivated, seeing those small wins,
Totally.
Yeah.
Makes sense. The guide also talks about making learning fun, which we touched on earlier with that whole cultural connection thing.
Right. Because if it feels like a chore, you're going to quit.
100%. So how do we tap into that enjoyment factor, make it feel less like study and more like, I don't know, playtime?
Well, they suggest using your passions, Instead of forcing yourself to read boring textbooks, immerse yourself in English content you actually enjoy.
So like guilt-free Netflix binging. Sign me up.
Exactly. Think about your favorite shows, movies, music, YouTube, all that can be learning, sneaky learning, but it works.
Love it. But what about if I'm not quite ready to like watch a whole movie in English without subtitles? Baby steps, right?
Totally. They got you covered. Start with something familiar, a show you've already seen in your native language, put on the English subtitles, and boom.
You're learning without realizing it.
Right. Because you already know the story, you can focus on the language itself.
That's so smart. And as you get better, ditch the subtitles. Just enjoy the show.
And don't forget music and podcasts. Great for training your ear, picking up slang, the real life stuff.
Which, hey, that's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
See, you're already learning just by listening.
Exactly. But we can take it up a notch. Remember that active listening thing. It's not just about letting the sounds wash over you.
Yeah, it's like engaging with it, right? What were those specific techniques again?
So taking notes while listening, jot down new words, phrases, or like summarize what you've heard in your own words. It's like a mental workout.
Brain gains. Love it. But let's be real. Life's busy. How do we actually fit in consistent practice? I feel like I'm always saying, I'll do it tomorrow.
That's where micro-learning comes in. The guide is all about it. Instead of needing huge chunks of time, it's about using those little moments we all have.
Micro-learning. Gimme those mini hacks.
Okay, so imagine instead of scrolling social media on your commute, you listen to an English podcast. Or while you're waiting in line, you review flashcards on your phone.
It's like sneaking in learning without even trying.
Exactly. It's about being intentional with those little bits of time we usually waste.
Mind blown. And speaking of things that are everywhere these days, what about those language learning apps? Are they legit or just fancy games?
They can be super helpful, especially for building vocabulary and grammar. Plus, that gamified element keeps things fun, right?
But how do we avoid just clicking through mindlessly, not really absorbing anything?
It's all about being strategic. Don't treat them as a quick fix. Use them to reinforce what you're learning elsewhere, like from reading or conversations.
So it's finding that balance between structured learning and like just immersing yourself in English, right?
Bingo. And speaking of immersion, the guide gets pretty wild with it, suggesting ways to make English a part of your daily life without even thinking about it.
Ooh, tell me more.
One of the simplest but most effective. Change your phone and computer settings to English. Boom, you're now getting menus, reading notifications, all in English.
Sneaky. It's like tricking your brain into thinking in English.
Totally. They also suggest going beyond just watching and listening, get involved in online communities, follow English-speaking influencers, real-life exposure.
So it's like a holistic immersion, bringing English into your digital world.
Exactly. But what about those who are ready to level up, go beyond the basics, really refine those skills? The guide has some advanced tricks up its sleeve. Yeah, for those ready to really dive in, the guide has this section called Advanced Techniques for Improvement. And it all starts with, oh boy, the one that makes most people nervous? Speaking?
Ugh, yeah, tell me about it. I used to get like full-on panic attacks thinking about speaking English.
It's a big hurdle for sure, but the guy, it kind of reframes it. It's not about being perfect. It's about realizing speaking practice is like the key to unlocking fluency.
Makes sense, I guess, because you can read and understand, but actually talking is a whole other piece.
Right. It's putting all those pieces together, thinking on your feet. It's where the rubber meets the road.
Okay, so speaking is important. Got it. But how do we actually get better without like dying of embarrassment? Any baby steps we can take?
They suggest language exchange groups, finding other learners who are also practicing.
Ooh, so it's like misery loves company.
Kinda. But it's more about creating this safe space, No judgment. Everyone's in the same boat.
I like that. Takes the pressure off. Any specific places to find these language buddies?
They mention some online platforms like Tandem and HelloTalk. They connect you with people worldwide. You can text, voice call, even video chat, whatever you're comfortable with.
That's cool. So it's like having pen pals, but for speaking practice.
Exactly. And another tip, this one might feel awkward, but it's super helpful. recording yourself speaking.
Oh, no, not the dreaded self-recording. I always cringe listening back.
I know, right? But it's like having a mirror for your speech. You can hear those little things you might not notice otherwise, like pronunciation, fluency, all that.
Okay, so maybe it's worth the cringe. It's like having a personal coach, but cheaper.
Exactly. And once you've tackled speaking, there's the ever-growing beast of vocabulary.
Ugh, don't even get me started. I learn new words and then they just disappear. Poof, gone.
So relatable. But the guide has some tricks for making those words stick, going beyond just memorizing. It's about like really understanding and using them.
So no more flashcards.
Well, flashcards can be helpful, but they suggest taking it a step further, using new words in context, creating your own examples, making them personal.
So instead of just reading a definition, I gotta like make up a whole sentence with it.
Exactly. They even had this challenge. Learn 5 new words each day and then come up with one sentence using all 5. It's like a brain teaser.
Ooh, I like a challenge. Makes it more fun than just, staring at a word list.
Right. It's about engaging with the language, playing with it.
Love it. Speaking of engaging, what about listening? It always feels so passive, but the guide dedicates a whole section to it.
Because it's super important. Listening is the foundation. It's how we absorb everything, vocab, grammar, even cultural stuff.
True. We talked about active listening earlier, but they suggest applying it beyond just podcasts, right? What else did they mention?
Audiobooks, documentaries, even news broadcasts. The key is choosing stuff you're interested in so you actually pay attention.
Engaged learning, always the theme. And remember those notes we talked about? What about when we hear a word and we're like, wait, what was that?
It's going to happen. Don't sweat it. They emphasize focusing on the overall meaning, not getting hung up on every single word. You can always rewind, listen again. It'll click eventually.
Patience, young Padawan.
Ah!
Okay, we've covered speaking, vocab, listening, and now for the one I always dread, writing.
Ugh, yeah, the dreaded writing practice. But the guide makes it less scary. They present it as a creative outlet, a way to really solidify what you've learned.
I'm more of a talker than a writer. Any suggestions for easing into it without, having a meltdown?
They suggest starting a journal, nothing fancy, just write about your day, your thoughts, whatever. It gets you comfortable with putting those English words on paper.
So like a brain dump, but in English.
Exactly. It gets you thinking in English, practicing grammar naturally.
Okay, I can handle that. But for those ready for more, what are some next level writing challenges?
They encourage gradually expanding, from journaling to maybe short stories, emails, even participating in online forums, stuff that interests you.
So it's finding ways to make writing fun, not just a chore.
Exactly. It's all about integrating it into your life, making it enjoyable.
Love it. Wow, we covered a ton today, from the why of learning English to all these practical tips. My brain's kind of fried, but in a good way.
It's a lot to take in, but that's the beauty of this guide. It emphasizes making the journey fun. It's not about cramming or perfection. It's about finding what works for you.
Totally. It's about those little victories, understanding a song, ordering food confidently, or just connecting with someone in their language. Those are the magic moments.
The guide has this quote that sums it up perfectly. Success is the sum of small efforts, repeated day in and day out.
Consistency is key, right? It's not about being perfect. It's about showing up, taking those small steps, and over time, those steps lead to amazing things.
You got it.
Well, this deep dive has been incredible, but it's just the beginning. There's a whole world of English learning out there waiting for you to explore.
So go out there and conquer.
And as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a question. Now that you have all these tools, what's one small action you can take today to keep that momentum going? Maybe watch a show with subtitles, learn some new words, anything. Just take that step and remember, you're capable of incredible things. Until next time, happy learning.
All right, so we're diving into these awesome English speaking tips. And guess what? We're going to use storytelling to help you guys get there. I've been really digging through all these tips, and some of them are so cool. Did you know that simply narrating your day, even just making breakfast or walking the dog, can make a huge difference? There's this story about Jane, who was super shy about speaking, but she started doing that, just narrating her day, and her fluency just took off.
It's funny, we often underestimate how powerful just those everyday activities can be. For language learning, it's all about creating a consistent habit of thinking and speaking in English.
Yeah. I used to struggle with this whole think in English thing. I'd be translating everything in my head before I could even say a word. It was exhausting. And my conversations just felt so clunky. What are some ways to actually shift your thinking into English mode?
Well, that's a common challenge. One really effective technique is to start small. So instead of trying to translate like entire sentences, just focus on single words or short phrases. For example, when you see a cat, just think cat in English, not your native language. And then as you get more comfortable, gradually increase the complexity. Another helpful tip is to use visual aids. So surround yourself with English labels, posters, even sticky notes. This constant visual reminder will kind of just nudge your brain to start thinking in English.
So it's like training your brain to make those automatic connections, right? Instead of going through that extra translation step.
Exactly. And speaking of training, the source material really emphasizes the importance of daily practice, even if it's just for like 10 or 15 minutes. The key is consistency. Think of it like working out a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
And this story about Raj totally proves your point. He was really focused on improving his pronunciation. So he started imitating the dialogue from his favorite movies, paying attention to the actor's intonation and everything. And guess what? It totally worked. He started to sound so much more natural and fluent.
You know what Raj was doing was actually quite clever. He was intuitively tapping into the power of mimicry, which is like a fundamental aspect of language acquisition. When we imitate native speakers, we're not just copying sounds, we're absorbing like the subtle nuances of the language, the rhythm, the stress patterns, even the emotional tone.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. It's like when we learn our first language as babies, we're constantly mimicking what we hear around us. So why not apply that same principle to learning English?
Exactly. And this leads us to another crucial point that's emphasized in the source material: learning phrases, not just isolated words.
Okay, this is something I've heard before, but honestly, I never fully understood why it was so important. Can you explain a bit more about the benefits of learning phrases instead of just memorizing individual words?
Sure. So when we learn phrases, we're not just acquiring vocabulary, we're also grasping how words work together. In natural flowing speech, for example, instead of just learning the words give and hand, we learn the phrase, could you give me a hand? This teaches us like the grammatical structure, the idiomatic usage, and the natural rhythm of the language.
Oh, so those common phrases become like building blocks for conversations. It's much more efficient than trying to piece together individual words in the moment.
Exactly. Imagine trying to build a house brick by brick versus using prefabricated walls. Phrases are those prefabricated walls of language. They help you communicate more fluently and naturally. The source even gives some great examples, like what's up or how's it going?
You know, I never thought of it that way. That's actually a really helpful analogy. So instead of getting bogged down with individual words, we should focus on those everyday phrases and how they're used in context. That's a fantastic takeaway for our listeners.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the beauty of it is you encounter these phrases all the time. In movies.
Yeah.
Music. And everyday conversations. Start paying attention to them. Write them down. And practice using them in your own interactions.
Yeah. I love that. All right, so we've talked about the importance of thinking in English, practicing consistently, and learning phrases. But let's get even more practical. This source has a whole section on using stories to improve fluency. And I have to admit, I was a little skeptical at first, but then they started talking about visualizing the story and really bringing it to life with details. And it clicked for me. I actually tried it with the sample story they gave about a weekend hike. And it was amazing. I felt like I was reliving the experience as I was telling the story in English. Do you find that using your senses helps you remember things better when you're learning a language?
Absolutely. Our brains are wired to remember things that are like emotionally charged and sensory rich. So when you actively engage your senses while you're telling a story in English, like the sights, sounds, smells, you're creating those stronger neural connections, making it much easier to recall the vocabulary and the grammar. It's like turning your brain into a high-definition movie studio.
I love that analogy. It makes so much sense. And speaking of making things stick, this source also recommends recording yourself speaking English. Oh, I used to cringe when I would listen back to my early recordings. But it really helped me pinpoint areas where I needed to improve. It was like having a personal language coach in my pocket.
Yeah, such a valuable tool
Yeah.
for self-assessment. You can hear your pronunciation, your intonation, the overall flow of your speech. You might notice things you weren't even aware of, like maybe using filler words too often or speaking too quickly.
Oh, totally. I used to say and like all the time. But hearing it back on a recording made me so much more conscious of it. And over time, I was able to break those habits.
Exactly. It's all about becoming aware of your own speech patterns and then making those conscious efforts to improve.
Yeah, for sure. You know, another thing that really stood out to me in these tips was the power of asking questions. It seems so simple, but it's such an effective way to keep conversations flowing.
and build your confidence.
Asking questions not only demonstrates your engagement, but it also encourages the other person to share their thoughts and experiences. It kind of takes the pressure off of you to constantly come up with things to say, and it creates a more dynamic and engaging interaction.
Right. And they suggest using those open-ended questions like, what do you think about? Or how is your seat? Which is a great tip. Those kinds of questions invite more detailed responses and give you more opportunities to listen and learn.
Yeah. And don't be afraid to ask clarifying questions. If you don't understand something, native speakers are usually happy to explain or rephrase things. It shows that you're actively listening and you're eager to learn.
Absolutely. It's all about showing genuine interest and engaging with the conversation. Okay, one last tip from this section that I found really intriguing: expanding your vocabulary with context.
Yeah, learning new words in isolation can be a bit like trying to memorize a phone book. It's dry and it's difficult to retain. But when you encounter words in context, within sentences and stories, they come alive. They suddenly have meaning and purpose.
Yeah, they give the example of the word serene used in the sentence. The lake was serene, surrounded by mountains. And it's so true. You can instantly picture the scene and understand the feeling the word is trying to convey.
Exactly. The sentence provides clues to the meaning of the word serene. You can infer that it describes a peaceful, calm, and tranquil atmosphere. And that visual imagery helps cement the word in your memory.
Okay, so I've always kind of found the idea of role-playing a bit intimidating, but this source makes a really compelling case for it. They say it's like a dress rehearsal for real-life conversations, which makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's like a safe space to experiment, make mistakes, and build your confidence. Think about those situations where you might feel a little nervous using English, like ordering food, asking for directions, making a phone call. Role-playing those scenarios can really help you feel more prepared and less anxious when you actually encounter them in real life.
Right. They even provide this example scenario of ordering at a cafe. Want to give it a try?
Sure.
Okay, so imagine I'm the customer and you're the barista. Okay, I'm feeling brave. I'm going to go for it. Hi there. I'd love to try one of your lattes. What would you recommend?
Okay, welcome to our cafe. We have a variety of delicious lattes. Do you prefer something sweet, or are you looking for more of a classic flavor?
I'm feeling adventurous today. What's your most unique latte?
Let's see. Our lavender honey latte is a customer favorite. It's a beautiful balance of floral and sweet notes.
Wow, that sounds amazing. I'll have that, please.
Excellent choice. One lavender honey latte coming right up.
See?
Yeah.
That wasn't so bad. I actually felt pretty comfortable using those phrases and responding in real time.
Yeah. And the more you practice, the more natural it'll become. You can even involve friends or family members in your role plays to make it even more fun and interactive.
That's a great idea. It kind of turns language practice into a game almost. Okay, so the source also talks about the benefits of joining English-speaking communities. And they share this really cool story about Ahmed, who joined an English-speaking book club. Not only did his speaking improve, but he also made new friends and expanded his cultural horizons.
Yeah. Ahmed's story really highlights the social and emotional benefits of language learning. It's not just about grammar and vocabulary. It's about connecting with people, sharing experiences, and broadening your perspectives.
It's about finding your tribe, those people who share your passion for the language and can support you on your learning journey.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is there are so many different types of communities out there, like book clubs, hiking groups, online forums, language exchange partners.
So think about your interests, your hobbies, your goals. What kind of community would you feel most comfortable in, most engaged in?
Yeah, the key is to find a space where you can use English authentically and connect with people who share your passions.
Well, this brings us to the end of our deep dive into these incredible English speaking tips. I have to say, I've learned so much from going through all these sources with you.
It's been a pleasure exploring these techniques together. Remember, the most important thing is to enjoy the process, embrace the challenges, celebrate those victories, and never stop exploring the beautiful world of language.
Yes. And for all of you listening out there, remember that fluency comes one step at a time. Keep practicing, keep experimenting, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself. Until next time, happy speaking.